Chapter 7:18. To the east of Harem City was a place filled with restaurants and restaurants. The streets here were very wide and the distance between the buildings was also relatively far. This was because there were many lustrous trees planted on the empty ground. This was a tree unique to St. Yuan World. Its branches were like crystal, its leaves were like precious jade, and its flowers were green. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Phoenix Moon was the season when the lustrous trees bloomed. Phoenix Moon 12th was the full moon in St. Yuan World. Every year at this time, all the restaurants in the east of Harem City would be full. This was especially true for the upper floor seats near the windows. Even if one had the money, they might not be able to reserve them. Among them, the most famous one was a restaurant called Dengyuan Restaurant. This restaurant's dishes, wine, decorations, and service were all impeccable. Most importantly, the 3 floors of this restaurant were the best place to view the scenery in the east of the city. It was unknown when it started, but being able to sit in the Dengyuan Tower on the night of Phoenix Moon 12th had become a symbol of status and strength. Everyone seemed to have reached a consensus. Those who could sit there at that time would be able to enjoy the most beautiful moon, the most beautiful flowers, and the most beautiful person in St. Yuan World. This kind of enjoyment was not something that anyone could enjoy. Ji Yuelong had naturally heard of this saying. Therefore, she had set a rule. If one wanted to sit in that seat, they had to be famous in June and have a pair of treasures. The meaning of these 3 sentences were: first, if one wanted to sit in that seat, they had to arrive at Harem City 6 months in advance. Moreover, they had to stay in the city for half a year and not leave for even a moment. Second, they had to be famous enough. Those who wanted to sit in that seat would not be recognized by anyone. Third, not counting the normal expenses, if one wanted to reserve a seat, they had to hand over 2 treasures. The so-called treasures were extremely powerful treasures. In St. Yuan World, treasures were divided into 5 grades: low, low, medium, high, and high. As for the value of high treasures, it was beyond the range of what the Yuan vein could estimate. It had to be said that City Lord Ji had a good business sense. Not only Dengyuan Tower, most of the other restaurants in the east of the city had also set a variety of conditions. In order to catch a glimpse of Ji Yuelong's peerless beauty on the 12th day of the Phoenix Moon Festival, many people were willing to spend money like water. And Ji Xiaolong was happy to take advantage of this. If those people were willing to pay for the various expenses of the harem city, it couldn't be better. At this point, I'm sure everyone has guessed that the day Feng Bujue and the others arrived was the 12th of Phoenix Moon. This year, the people who had reserved a table at the Dengyuan Pavilion in the east of the city were the famous 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang in Jianghu. The 4 of them were brothers with different surnames, and no one knew their original surnames. They only knew that they were first famous in Mount Gang, a region in St. Yuan World. The 4 of them were now using their sworn names. The eldest brother was called Dao Zheng, the second brother De Zheng, the third brother Fa Zheng, and the 4th brother Ji Zheng. Although the names of these brothers sounded like Buddhist names, they were not Buddhist monks. On the contrary, all 4 of them were famous playboys who lusted after beauties. Moreover, all of them were extremely handsome. Since they were able to enter the city, it meant that their appearance and cultivation had passed the test. Of course, they were not perverts and had never done anything like that. What they liked was to pretend to be cultured, consensual, and then abandon. Objectively speaking, they were still considered decent people. St. Yuan World was a world where good and evil did not coexist, and there was no such thing as neutral. Therefore, no one from the evil path was allowed to enter the city. It was just that their lifestyle was a little problematic. In the afternoon, the 4 of them were already sitting in a private room on the 3rd floor of the Dengyuan Pavilion, drinking wine and chatting. Brothers, haha, I've been cooped up in this city for half a year, and today is finally the day, Dao Jing said with a smile as he ate. Looking at his face, it was obvious that he was slightly drunk. Yes, big brother, De Jing replied. Tonight, we brothers can finally see Ji Xiaolong's beauty. Sigh, what a pity. Fa Jing raised his head and drank a cup of wine. Ah, we can see, but we can't touch. Ha ha, third brother, there's nothing we can do about it. Ji Jing laughed. She likes women. Humph. It is indeed a pity that such a peerless beauty has such a hobby. Dao Jing took advantage of his drunkenness and said impudently, I'm afraid she will never be able to taste the joy of going to Mount Wu with a man in her lifetime. Hearing this, the other three laughed along with Dao Jing and drank another round. After a few rounds of drinking, Ji Jing suddenly opened his eyes wide and looked at the street outside the window. He said loudly, Brothers, look. What's wrong? Dao Jing and the others turned to look at the street curiously. It was fine if they did not look, but with just one look, their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. This. De Jing stuttered. Who is this girl? I've been in the city for half a year, and I thought I've seen all the beauties in the city. Why haven't I seen this beauty before? She must have just entered the city today. Fa Jing said. Maybe she wants to enter Ji Maolong's harem? With her beauty, I'm afraid even Ji Maolong won't be able to resist her. Ji Jing's gaze was still fixed on the street as he spoke. Brothers. Dao Jing seemed to have an idea. Why don't I go down and invite her to this private room? That's great, De Jing replied, but a second later, he seemed to have thought of something and quickly added, But, big brother, you're the elder. If you were to personally appear in such a situation, wouldn't it be a little too much? It's better for me, your second brother. Sigh, there's no need for second brother to do it. Fa Jing said. I'll go. No. Ji Jing's reaction was not slow. I'll take the trouble, obviously. The four of them were not stupid. They all wanted to be the first to strike up a conversation. Ha! Dao Jing laughed. Fine. When something good happens, the four of you run faster than anyone else. He put down the wine glass in his hand. Since everyone wants to talk to that girl, then why don't we all go together? That's not a bad idea. De Jing smiled. Let's go together and see who that fairy-like sister likes more. Ha. The four of them laughed confidently for a while. They were very confident in their ability to pick up girls, and then pretended to say please to each other, and then rushed out of the third floor. At the same time, Su Huaishang, who was exploring the map on the street, had no idea what was going on. She had no idea about the background of this scenario, she had no idea who her teammates were and where they were, and she had no idea what her current mission was. She had been in the scenario for a long time, and all she did was wander down the street. Right at this moment, four figures suddenly descended from the sky and blocked her path. Miss, it's a pleasure to meet you. The four heavenly kings of Mount Gang bowed in unison, and said that to Su Huaishang in unison. Then, the four of them straightened up to reveal four handsome faces. They all tossed her seductive and affectionate gazes. Su Huaishang narrowed her eyes and returned a gaze that could be described as a pain in the ass. To be honest, she had seen similar scenes both in real life and in the game. She had even seen 48 male idol groups that were prettier than women confess their love at the same time, let alone four people. That scene was much more spectacular than this. I'm sorry, but how can I help you? Su Huaishang asked neutrally. My name is Dao Jing. My name is De Jing. My name is Fa Jing. My name is Ji Jing. Perhaps you've heard of us already. The four of us are the guests at the Dengyuan Tower tonight. Dao Jing said. Earlier, when we were upstairs, we saw you wandering the street alone. De Jing continued, so we gathered our courage to approach you. May I know your name? Fa Jing asked again. I wonder if you'll do us the honor. Ji Jing said, and join us upstairs for a meal. The relationship between the two brothers was indeed deep. They were birds of a feather and were even closer than real brothers. When they spoke, it was as if they were connecting dragons. I appreciate your hospitality. Su Huaishang was not in the mood to attend a dinner party with these NPCs. Of course, she rejected them without hesitation. I have other matters to attend to. When this was said, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang were shocked. They did not expect that they would be rejected. Not to mention the attractiveness of these 4 flower experts to women. Normally, 99% of the people in this city, regardless of gender, would be so excited that their blood vessels would burst when they heard the words, Ascending Origin Pavilion Private Room. To be able to sit in that room on the 12th of Phoenix Moon without spending a single cent was an invitation that could not be rejected. However, Su Huaishang used an absent-minded attitude to reject the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. Furthermore, it was on the street. In the city of the harem, the streets were filled with people who had reached the level of infinite qi. Naturally, their hearing was not bad. Furthermore, there were many people who were secretly watching Su Huaishang. Therefore, most of the people on the street stopped in their tracks at this moment and looked at Goddess Su with shock on their faces. 2 seconds later, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang also realized that something was wrong. Under these circumstances, if they were to leave with their tails between their legs, where would their dignity go? Miss, maybe you didn't hear me clearly. Dao Jing continued to block Su Huaishang's path. He had no intention of moving away. I said Dengyuan Tower's 3rd floor private room. He purposely emphasized the words, afraid that Su Huaishang would not understand the meaning behind those words. Unfortunately, Su Huaishang did not understand the meaning behind those words. I'm sorry, I really don't have time. Goddess Su's attitude did not improve. Instead, she showed an impatient expression and turned to leave. Hey Mississippi, Xi Jing moved in a flash and blocked Su Huaishang's path. What's the hurry? It has nothing to do with you. Su Huaishang replied. Can you please move away? After that, she changed her direction and walked away quickly. This time, the people on the street all showed a look of schadenfreude. They surrounded the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. Obviously, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang were not going to be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. This kind of situation where the guests of Dengyuan Tower's private room were humiliated was undoubtedly something that the people, those who could not get a private room, loved to see. Wait. Dao Jing finally could not take it anymore. He ran in front of Su Huaishang again. Miss, let's stop joking around. He lowered his voice and looked into Su Huaishang's eyes. We brothers invited you with good intentions, but you have this kind of attitude. Could it be that you want to humiliate us? Can you stop being so annoying? This time, even Su Huaishang was angered. If you don't leave now, I'm going to make my move. She was already annoyed due to the lack of information about the scenario, and now she was being harassed by 4 NPCs for no reason. Therefore, the thought of fighting rose in her mind. If Su Huaishang knew the combat power level of this universe, she would not have acted so rashly. Unfortunately, she did not know. She thought this was an ancient world, at most, it was a wuxiao world. With her current combat power, she was already invincible in the wuxiao world, so it was fine for her to make a move. I advise you not to fight them. Suddenly, a voice came from the sky. It was loud and clear and echoed down the street. When she heard this, Su Huaishang's expression shifted. There was a trace of surprise mixed with a trace of joy. Chapter 719. This sentence was like a sudden clap of thunder, attracting everyone's attention. The people on the street all turned their heads and looked towards the source of the voice. They saw a man wearing a long purple robe. Brother Ju's ancient appearance in the eyes of the NPCs was standing steadily in midair. He looked down at the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang with a condescending attitude. We really are fated. 2 seconds after hearing this, Su Huaishang adjusted her expression, turned around slowly and looked up at Brother Ju. Haha, yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Feng Bujue smiled and replied. He then put away the pocket watch in his hand, he used it as a loudspeaker, and descended from the sky. After landing, he walked towards Su Huaishang and said, "Come with me, we can talk on the way." Wait. Suddenly, an arm stretched out horizontally and blocked Brother Ju's path. Feng Bujue's eyes moved slightly, and he saw a very handsome face. "Brother, we haven't finished talking with this girl yet." Zhijing put down his arm and walked in between Brother Ju and Su Huaishang, staring at Brother Ju. "I don't have anything to say to you." Before Brother Ju could speak, Su Huaishang spoke first. As she spoke, she walked around Zhijing and quickly walked behind Feng Bujue. "Haha!" Feng Bujue glanced at the beautiful woman behind him and then looked at Zhijing with a mocking expression. "So now, you're done talking. Don't be so smug." Zhijing was angry. As he spoke, he secretly gathered his Saint Chi, as if he was going to attack his brother Ju. However, a hand pressed down on his shoulder in time, stopping him from moving. "Fourth brother." The calmer Dao Jing patted his brother's shoulder and walked forward. He whispered in Zhijing's ear, "Don't be rash. Let's find out more about him first." After all, he was the big brother, so Dao Jing had to consider the bigger picture. Even though he could not sense any saint origin from Brother Ju, the latter's ability to walk on air was obvious to all. He could not afford to be careless. "Haha!" Dao Jing quickly put on a fake smile and saluted his brother Ju. "I am the leader of the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang, Dao Jing. May I ask?" "Well said." Feng Bujue clasped his hands behind his back and looked up to the sky. He replied without any respect, "I am the owner of Broken Sword Chahitsu, Feng Bujue." What Broken Sword Chahitsu? I've never heard of it." When Zhijing heard that the other party was a nobody, he immediately lost his temper. "You don't even have any internal energy. I don't know how you managed to sneak into the city." He glanced at his brother Ju and snorted coldly. "Good question. How did I sneak in?" Feng Bujue turned his face and smiled at Zhijing. "There are 3 conditions to enter the city. Since you've emphasized that I don't have any internal energy, the only reason I managed to sneak into the city is that I'm more handsome than you, and I have a higher IQ than you." As soon as he said that, the crowd burst into laughter. Although the word IQ was unfamiliar to the passers-by, Brother Ju's meaning was clearly conveyed to everyone. Perhaps Feng Bujue's words were a little shameless, but the answer itself was witty, sharp, and satisfying. Therefore, the person who was being laughed at was Zhijing. "You!" Hearing the harsh laughter, Zhijing's expression became extremely awkward. His face was already flushed red. This moment of shame was something he had never experienced before in his life. "What a sharp tongue! I wonder if your skills are as good as your sophistry." In the blink of an eye, Zhijing appeared in front of Brother Ju in a flash. He picked up the folding fan in his hand and swung it at Brother Ju's head. This attack seemed like a very ordinary attack, but in reality, Zhijing had used his Saint Chi. If Feng Bujue was really an ordinary person without any internal energy, he would definitely die on the spot. Pa! A second later, a crisp sound was heard, and the folding fan suddenly stopped. Feng Bujue used only 2 fingers to catch the fan that was coming at him. Many of the onlookers present were Saint Origin stage experts, and after seeing this scene, they couldn't help but gasp. "Bitch, it seems like you want to compare notes with me, right?" Brother Ju looked at Zhijing's shocked face and said in a deep voice, "What did you call me?" Zhijing was still in shock and was angered by Brother Ju's insulting words. "Bitch," Feng Bujue said as he grabbed the folding fan from Zhijing's hand. "You can call me a birdman, but I can't call you a bitch?" Zhijing was so angry that he did not care that his folding fan was stolen. He only said, "I am Zhi Tianwang, one of the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. How dare you call me bitch? B*TC. Feng Bujue repeated the word loudly 3 times. Each time, his tone became more arrogant, and each time, his pronunciation became clearer and clearer. Not only did he stop Zhizheng with his words, he also used the folding fan to hit Zhizheng's head. Zhizheng had never seen anything like this before. He did not know what to do and could only raise his hand to block the attack. Therefore, he was slapped 3 times by Brother Ju. The scene was like a teacher slapping a student. It was strangely comical. Enough! Dao Jing could not stand it anymore. He stepped forward and snatched the folding fan from Brother Ju's hand. He shouted, "Master Feng, don't go too far, that's right. Just bully him a little." Feng Bujue said and turned around. "The 4 of you, please go back. The 2 of us have things to do." You want to leave?" 2 voices shouted at the same time. 2 figures appeared to block Brother Ju and Su Huaishang's escape route. The ones blocking their way were De Zheng and Fa Zheng. The brothers had already lost face today. If they let these 2 leave just like that, how would the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang be able to survive in the martial world? "Humph, Master Feng." Dao Jing spoke again. This time, his tone was as cold as the wind. "We brothers have never met you before. Today, you suddenly appeared and humiliated my brother in front of everyone. Now you want to leave in one piece. Ha!" He continued with a fake smile. "I don't think it will be that easy. What should we do?" Su Huaishang saw that a fight was about to break out, so she whispered into Brother Ju's ear. "Should we fight? Don't worry about it. I will handle the negotiation." Feng Bujue whispered back. "If a fight really breaks out, you don't have to worry. Just protect yourself. I can handle it alone." After saying that, Feng Bujue pretended to clear his throat. He raised his voice to address Dao Jing. "This is Heavenly King Dao." He chuckled drily. "Haha! Allow me to sort out the current situation." He paused for a moment. "The 4 of you were originally drinking at a restaurant." He glanced at Su Huaishang beside him. "Coincidentally, you saw my 4th aunt walking alone on the street." When she heard this, Su Huaishang really wanted to kick Brother Ju, but the system wouldn't allow her to do so. "The 4 of you saw her beauty and came forward to invite her to accompany you." Feng Bujue continued, "After she rejected you, the 4 of you still refused to give up. You chased after her and kept harassing her." At this point, Brother Ju stole a glance at the crowd. Through their expressions, Brother Ju could confirm that his own logic theory was working very well. "Then, I showed myself here, wanting to take my wife away from this place. But the 4 of you continued to be so aggressive that you even tried to assassinate me." He shook his head. "And on my side, I have always been patient." He raised his finger to point at Zhizheng. "If I wanted to, that kid's head would have been removed from his body a long time ago. I only hit him a few times and scolded him a few times. That was already very kind of me." At this point, Feng Bujue turned around and glared at De Zheng and Fa Zheng. "Now that things have come to this, I have done my best. But the 4 of you dare to say that I am the one who has gone too far? You want to bully me with your numbers and make me your enemy." He raised his head to the sky and laughed. "Ha ha ha ha." It was a very standard 4 laughs. Such shameless words and actions, it really is an eye-opener for me. What else do you want to do next? Beat me to death and then force my wife to accompany you to drink? He turned around as he spoke and looked at Dao Jing again. "I think you should stop calling yourselves the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. Why don't you just call yourselves the 4 bandits of Mount Gang?" Under Feng Bujue's bewitchment, the crowd was filled with righteous indignation. "That's right. Master Feng has a point. I saw it just now too." The 4 of them suddenly jumped down from the roof and blocked the girl's path, bullying her in broad daylight. How preposterous! The crowd was abuzz with discussion. The words were like knives that were pressed against the backs of the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. On the other side, Su Huaishang had also understood Brother Ju's plan. Even though she was unwilling, she had no choice but to accept it. "Just how long have you been watching from the side?" she whispered to Brother Ju. "He, actually, they were just one step ahead of me," Feng Bujue said. "I was just about to walk over to pat you on your shoulder when the four of them jumped out." "So, you decided to hide behind the crowd and then sneak into the sky to make a grand entrance and save the damsel in distress." Su Huaishang narrowed her eyes and asked in a slightly annoyed tone. "That's right." Brother Ju shrugged with a smile. "Now we are even." Hearing that, Su Huaishang understood. Feng Bujue was taking revenge for the show that he had put on during their last fight. Fine. Whatever." Su Huaishang shook her head with a bitter smile and stopped talking. Back to the four heavenly kings of Mount Gang. This is a bunch of nonsense." With the crowd's condemnation, Dao Jing yelled loudly. But, against Brother Ju's exaggerated explanation, he could not refute it. He could only give a few weak denial. De Zheng, Fa Zheng and Ji Zheng did not look too good either. They were stuck in a stalemate. They could not make a move, but they could not do nothing either. At that moment, suddenly, a shining golden figure descended from the sky and barged into this mess. "Let's end this here." A deep voice spoke. The speaker was a yellow-haired uncle. The uncle here referred to an extremely handsome, mature man who looked close to middle age. The man wore a tight outfit and carried 2 swords on his back. His long hair fluttered in the wind. Many people recognized him the moment he appeared. He was the leader of the 3 elites under Ji Xiaolong's command, Yin Lulan. Dao Jing looked and saw that it was an elite with Saint Infinity 9 transformations. He quickly bowed and said, "Oh, it is Senior Yin. I am Dao Jing, nice to meet you, brother." Yin Lulan interrupted him rudely. "Please." His gaze swept across to Jing, Fa Zheng and Ji Jing, and the other 3 heavenly kings. "Return to your private rooms in Dengyuan Tower." He paused. "I will pretend that I did not see what happened just now. But from now on, please be careful with your words and actions. Do not break the rules of Harem City." Once he said that, it was basically a foregone conclusion. Although the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang were all elites with Saint Infinity 9 transformations, only Dao Zheng had reached the 5th transformation. De Zheng and Fa Zheng were only at the 4th transformation. Ji Zheng was only at the 3rd transformation. Against a 9th transformation expert, the 4 of them had no chance of winning. Moreover, the laws in Harem City were strict. Most of the crimes carried the death penalty, especially when it came to indecent acts between men and women. Yin Lulan was the highest judge and executor of the law in the city. If he classified what happened just now as a crime, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang would have nothing to say. Therefore, when Yin Lulan said that, the 4 of them had no other choice. Even if they lost face, it was still better than dying on the spot. "Oh." Dao Jing's face turned green and purple. However, he still suppressed his emotions and squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. "Senior Yin's reminder is very right. The 4 of us drank a few cups too much today. Therefore, our words and actions were inappropriate. I hope senior and fellow Taoists can forgive us." After he said that, he immediately gave his 3 sworn brothers a look, telling them to leave quickly. De Zheng and the others understood, and could only jump up awkwardly and run back to Dengyuan Tower. At this point, if they continued to stay, they would only be humiliating themselves. Meanwhile, Dao Jing cupped his hands and bowed to Yin Lulan. He turned his head slightly and glared at Feng Bujue. "Master Feng, may we meet again someday." After he said that, he did not wait for Brother Ju's reply and left. "Everyone, please disperse." 2 seconds later, Yin Lulan shouted again, "Do not block the roads in the city." Actually, it did not matter whether he said it or not because the show was over and the crowd was already dispersing. When most of the people had left, Feng Bujue took 2 steps forward and said to Yin Lulan, "Senior, thank you for helping me out. Brother Ju was just about to introduce himself when Yin Lulan interrupted. Master Feng, you don't have to be so courteous with me. Yin Lulan's expression was cold and stern. He was a very pragmatic person and liked to get straight to the point. I have heard about what happened at the South Gate. I came here to look for you. He paused and looked at Su Huaishang, who was behind Brother Ju. Then, he looked at Brother Ju and said, "This must be Miss Lu, right?" Yin Lulan had never seen Lu Te before. The information he received was that the person who came with Master Feng was a beautiful woman with the surname Lu. Therefore, he mistook Su Huaishang for Lu Te. The city master has ordered to invite the two of you to meet in the Zhilian Immortal Palace. Chapter 720. West of the city, in a private room of a certain restaurant. Xiao Xiao, what's this? Hua Jian asked curiously as she pointed at a dish on the table. Oh, Su Xiao smiled and replied, this is called Snow Ape Fruit Offering. It's a famous local dish in the Thousand Ape Mountains. It's made with the brain matter of a snow ape mixed with a secret sauce. Then, it's smeared on the surface of the snow fruit. Then, it's roasted with a high temperature. Miss Su. Ruo Yu put down her chopsticks when she heard the word brain matter. We've only met by chance. You've already helped us a lot by being willing to explain the various matters of the harem city to us. And now you're treating us to such. She thought for 2 seconds and chose an adjective. Such extravagant food. I'm afraid we're not worthy of it. Ah, Sister Yu, what are you saying? Su Xiao waved her hand and replied, let's not talk about one table of food. Even if it's 10 or 100 tables of food, to me. She seemed to have spilled the beans again and quickly corrected herself. To me, it's just a drop in the ocean. Miss Su. With Ruo Yu's observation skills, she naturally noticed the various abnormalities on Su Xiao. She wasn't afraid of ruining the atmosphere and said directly, I'll just say it, based on what you've told us and my observations, I think you're not an ordinary person. She paused for a moment. You should be the city lord's subordinate, right? Su Xiao was obviously stunned when she heard that. Even the dog skin plaster couldn't hide the change in her expression. 2 seconds later, she smiled and looked at Ruo Yu. Sister Yu is indeed beautiful and intelligent. As she said that, she raised her hand and removed the plaster on her face. Su Xiao's face was delicate and beautiful. Just based on appearance alone, she wasn't inferior to Lin Ke in front of the Lianxian Palace. However, there were 3 red birthmarks on her face. They were on the 3 places where she applied the plaster. This inevitably added a few blemishes to her beautiful face. That's right. I'm the military governor of the harem city, Su Xiao. Su Xiao continued, previously I had no choice but to conceal my identity. I hope the 2 ladies can forgive me. Miss Su was the last of the 3 experts under Ji Chanlong's command. Her strength was slightly higher than Lin Ke's, and she had just reached the 9th revolution of St. Yuan. Forced? Hua Jian asked suspiciously. Did you receive an order to deal with the 2 of us? No. Why would you say that? Su Xiao hurriedly waved her hand and denied it. I do have official duties to attend to, but I have no intention of harming you 2. Then please explain. Ruo Yu looked straight into the other's eyes and said calmly. It's like this. Su Xiao replied. Both of you have heard from me that every year on the 12th of the Phoenix month, the city lord will tour the city to admire the flowers and look for beauties. She glanced at Yu and Hua Jian. However, this harem city is huge. It's impossible for the city lord to see everything in one night, I understand. Hua Jian understood quickly. On the surface, City Lord Ji only goes out to take concubines on the 12th of the Phoenix month, but in reality, she has been secretly looking for beauties all year round. You are one of her spies. You can say that. Su Xiao smiled awkwardly. Although Hua Jian's choice of words was not pleasant to the ears, the general meaning was correct. Actually, I only do this occasionally, and I'm often recognized. So today, I changed into a man's clothing, then. What do you want now? Ruo Yu asked. Su Xiaoxiao smiled embarrassedly. Haha. Since we've talked about it, this commander might as well ask directly. She adjusted her expression and continued, Ladies, are you interested in meeting our city lord? At the same time, in front of the Lianxian Palace, the stagnant Saint Yuan in the air had begun to settle down. The battle between the two Saint Yuan experts was nearing its end. At this time, Mo Ruoqiu was covered in wounds and his strength was exhausted. Lin Ke, on the other hand, was only slightly exhausted. Just like what Lu Te had said in the previous chapter, at the same level, with each additional revolution, the amount of power would be doubled. So, the outcome of this battle was just a simple mathematical problem. A 7th revolution person fighting an 8th revolution person was like fighting with 50% health against 100% health in War 3. Even if the opponent was brainless, they might not be able to win. Young Master Mo, enough is enough. Lin Ke stood on the steps of Lianxian Palace and looked down at Mo Ruoqiu. If you continue fighting, you won't be asking for a fight, you'll be asking for death. Lin Ke's patience was almost at its limit. If not for the city lord's order to not harm Mo Ruoqiu's life, Lin Ke would have already killed him. Ha, so what if I die? Mo Ruoqiu's face was ashen as he forcefully pushed his remaining Saint Qi and stepped forward again. I'm asking for death, why do you need to persuade me? Humph. Lin Ke snorted. You really don't know what's good for you. If I hadn't shown mercy, would you still be standing? She flung her sleeves and shouted, Mo Ruoqiu, if you don't leave now, don't blame me for destroying your foundation and then finding someone to carry you away. Her words were both a threat and a dissuasion. To a cultivator, one's foundation was extremely important. Once one's foundation was damaged, no matter how high one's aptitude was, one's cultivation speed and limits would also be affected. Lin Ke's harsh words were undoubtedly meant to make Mo Ruoqiu retreat. Unfortunately, as she had just said, Mo Ruoqiu really didn't know what was good for him. Over the years, young Master Mo had suffered too many setbacks and had long since become crazy. Right now, he was completely at a dead end, so he didn't consider any way out. Do as you wish. Mo Ruoqiu shouted as he pushed his Saint Qi. In the next second, an earthen yellow dragon-shaped energy condensed in midair and pounced toward the stairs. Ha! Lin Ke sighed, why bother? Even the two guards at the door with Saint Qi at the limitless third cycle could see that although Mo Ruoqiu's attack seemed powerful, it was actually just an arrow at the end of its flight. Lin Ke simply waved her hand and pushed her Saint Qi lightly, dispersing the dragon-shaped energy without leaving a trace. It's not over yet. Mo Ruoqiu didn't give up, allowing blood to flow from the corner of his mouth as he tried to force his Saint Qi out, but this time, someone had strangled his actions before he could even think about them. Let's stop, young Master Mo, a calm voice sounded. Along with this voice, a golden light descended from the sky and covered Mo Ruoqiu, completely suppressing his secret art. Yuan suppression golden seal? After all, Mo Ruoqiu was the young master of one of the 4 great families. After being hit, he immediately knew the name of the artifact that was suppressing him. It seems that young Master Mo recognizes this artifact, Yin Lulan said as she walked over. Then you should also know that your Saint Qi is almost depleted now. Under the influence of the Yuan suppression golden seal, it is impossible for you to make a move. Yin Lulan. Mo Ruoqiu turned his head and muttered the other party's name. Young Master Mo had heard of Yin Lulan's name a long time ago. Before the latter had become Ji Xiaolong's disciple, he had already been a well-known figure in the pugilistic world. When people said, "One seal of heaven and earth, 2 swords overturn Lulan," they were referring to him. Unfortunately, this genius swordsman, who had high hopes for the righteous path, had been plotted against in a duel with the demon path's sword venerable many years ago. Although he had successfully destroyed the other party's body and soul, his own foundation had also been severely damaged. This episode had completely changed Enlulan's life from then on. If it had not been for this duel, he would have already become a Yuan sage, and he would not have to submit to others and become the chief security officer of this harem city. Big brother En, you came at the right time. Lin Ke heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Enlulan. If you had come a little later, I'm afraid. She looked at Emo Ruachio. I wouldn't have had to do anything. He would have destroyed his own foundation. Sigh. Enlulan let out a deep sigh. Why do you have to do this? These two are? Lin Ke asked when he saw Feng Bujue and Su Huaishang behind Enlulan. Oh, these two are the guests that the city lord wants to see. Enlulan raised her head and replied. I'll bring them to the front of the hall. What? Emo Ruachio was shocked when he heard this. She's willing to see these ordinary people without any internal force, but she's unwilling to see me? As he said this, Feng Bujue happened to walk past him. Brother Ju immediately displayed his talent in taunting. He turned his upper body and stretched out 2 fingers to make a victory sign at Emo Ruachio. He even said ecstatically, yeah, that expression, that gesture. It was as if a kindergarten child had received a little star. Su Huaishang, who was walking beside Brother Ju, could only shake her head and say in her heart, Big idiot, who are you? Why is Ruaer willing to see you? Although Emo Ruachio did not know why the man in front of him suddenly said the word liquid to him, this did not stop him from asking the question in his heart. Under these circumstances, it would be inappropriate for Feng Bujue, who was invited, to respond to an uninvited guest like Emo Ruachio. This would make the host look rude. Therefore, Enlulan quickly stepped forward and blocked Emo Ruachio. This is Master Feng. He is a master from the outside world. He and his wife are the city lord's guest. I hope young Master Emo will not disturb them. What? He's a master from the outside world? Emo Ruachio looked at Feng Bujue from head to toe, but he did not sense any aura of a master from him. Enlulan then turned around and said to Brother Ju and Su Huaishang, this young Master Emo and our city lord have some. He thought for a while before continuing, some unfinished business. He paused. I'm sorry. He raised his hand and pointed at the door of the Lianxian Palace. Please don't mind me. This way, wait. Emo Ruachio shouted again. I don't accept this. This is impossible. He shouted, they can go in, but I can't? It must be you bunch of servants who made things difficult for him. It must be. Why won't you let me see Jean? Why? Shut up. Suddenly, a shout filled with Saint Chi came from the Lianxian Palace. It was a woman's voice. Even though she had only said 2 words, and she had said it in a commanding tone, her voice was still pleasant to the ears and beautiful to the ears. You're finally willing to talk to me. Emo Ruachio's face was pale. He looked up at the ceiling in a daze, as if his Jean was already in front of him. However, Ji Xiaolong didn't want to talk to him. Therefore, only his voice could be heard, but not his face. Brother En, can you please throw young Master Emo into the sea? Let him calm down. Why are you shouting here? As you wish. Enlulan cupped his fists and bowed to the palace door. He then turned around and put away the Yuan Qi suppressing golden seal. Emo Ruachio had just regained his ability to move. Before he could do anything, Enlulan summoned a flying sword and threw him away. What are you doing? Let go of me! Emo Ruachio wailed like a ghost. He had completely lost his composure. Let go of me! Why did you break us up? However, he did not manage to say much before he was dragged away. He's a stalker. Feng Bujue looked at the black shadow in the sky and murmured. This scene is so familiar. Su Huaishang whispered, but the version I saw was that he was dragged away by the security. It's not easy for you either. Feng Bujue added. It's okay, Su Huaishang replied. Master Feng, Miss Lu. On the other side, Ji Zhuolong's voice sounded again. Please come in. Chapter 721. As soon as Feng Bujue and Su Huaishang stepped through the gates of the Immortal Palace, the blurry scenery before their eyes became clear. Similar to the enchantment around the city, the enchantment around the Immortal Palace had the ability to block the view of the outside world. The interior of the Immortal Palace was indeed like a paradise. Beautiful trees stood in the courtyard and clouds drifted in the sky. Orchid Lake produced flowers and Jade Springs produced roses. Beautiful jade, beautiful and full of life. All kinds of precious and beautiful plants and jade stones that were unique to the Saint Origin world formed this dreamlike picture. Furthermore, this was only the front courtyard. After passing through the front hall, there were 4 other courtyards in the Immortal Palace. The beauty of those courtyards was unimaginable to those outside the Immortal Palace. Whoa, the scenery is not bad. Seeing this magnificent scenery, even Feng Bujue could not help but praise. Su Huaishang added, the smell here is also quite good. There is a faint fragrance. It is the fragrance of flowers and plants. Feng Bujue casually added. No. At this time, a gentle and pleasant voice joined the conversation. This smell is a woman's fragrance. Before the voice finished, a graceful figure walked out from the forest of flowers. It was a woman, but she was dressed like a king. She wore a black robe and a large red crown. She did not wear a crown and her hair reached her waist. With just one look, Feng Bujue knew that she was Ji Xiaolong. I see. Brother Ju's face darkened and he thought to himself, I think I can understand that stalker a little, so beautiful. Su Huaishang murmured as she stared at a person who was of the same gender as her. So beautiful. Su Huaishang murmured. This was the magic of Ji Xiaolong. Her beauty was stunning. No matter how many words people had heard to describe her beauty, the moment they saw her, they could not help but feel surprised and helpless. Brother Ju knew quite a number of beauties. Take the ones in this script for example. Li Ruoyu, Lu Te, 23, Su Huaishang and Yueqin. Every one of them could be considered a beauty of the highest quality. Some of them were beautiful, some were beautiful, some were beautiful, some were beautiful, some were beautiful. However, Ji Tuolong was different from any of them. In her beauty there was a kind of magnanimity, a kind of calmness, and a kind of disdain for the world. The flowers and plants in my pitiful immortal palace only contain an elegant aura. They do not emit a strong fragrance. Ji Tuolong was not surprised by Su Huaishang's reaction. She just smiled and continued, the smell you smell is the body fragrance of my beauties. In the entire Saint Yuan world, only those who are in my pitiful fairy palace, which is full of beauties, can smell it. After hearing Ji Mo's explanation, Brother Ju's first reaction was, looks like your air circulation system isn't very good. Air circulation system? Ji Tuolong looked at Brother Ju in confusion. She repeated these words but still did not understand what they meant. Oh right, I haven't introduced myself yet. Feng Bujue did not want to stray too far from the topic. He immediately changed the topic. I am the owner of Broken Sword Chahitsu, Feng Bujue. After that, he raised his hand and gestured to Su Huaishang. This is my friend. Su Huaishang interrupted Brother Ju before he could say the words, fourth aunt. Just a friend. There is no other relationship. Ah, this must be Miss Lu. Ji Tuolong smiled and looked at Su Huaishang with a gentle gaze. Su Huaishang blushed slightly in the face of such a charming smile. She nervously replied, I think you've misunderstood. Miss Lu, who entered the city with Master Feng, is not here at the moment. On the way here, Brother Ju had already told Su Huaishang some things that happened. She paused for a second and subconsciously brushed her hair behind her ear. She then clasped her hands together and said, I am Su Huaishang. I am? Hearing this, Ji Tuolong's gaze quickly moved to the twin swords at Su Huaishang's waist. Miss Su, you are also a member of the Jianghu? I don't think so. Su Huaishang felt her gaze and instinctively placed her hand on the swords. This is just for self-defense. Self-defense? Ji Tuolong smiled and said, Hes. All right. She made a non-committal face, then turned around and said, Please come with me. Hearing this, Brother Ju and Su Huaishang exchanged glances. Then, the former shrugged his shoulders and the latter nodded her head. Together they followed. Not long after, under Ji Tuolong's lead, the two of them passed through the garden and came to the side of a lotus pond. On the rocky shore of the pond, there was a stone pavilion. At this time, tea was already prepared on the stone table in the pavilion. The three of them quickly walked into the pavilion and sat across from each other. When the steam from the first cup of tea was still rising, Ji Tuolong was the first to speak. Master Feng, I don't like to beat around the bush so. I'll be direct. She looked straight into Brother Ju's eyes and said, I am not interested in your Saint Yuan cultivation method. This time, I invited you here because I want to have a spar with you to relieve my boredom. Oh, is that so? Feng Bujue replied lazily. Then what do I get in return? Brother Ju's reaction was beyond Ji Tuolong's expectations. She thought this man would happily agree to her request, but she did not expect him to be so calm as to talk about the conditions. What do I get in return? Ji Tuolong repeated the key points in Brother Ju's words with a questioning tone and a half-smile. Yes. Feng Bujue replied matter-of-factly, even if I were to perform on the streets, I would still be able to earn some money, right? Now that you invited me here and asked me to perform for you, you want me to spar with you? Are you not going to pay me? This is strange. Ji Tuolong seemed to find the situation quite amusing. She laughed and replied, We are both from the martial arts world. Do we need to pay for sparring? Feng Bujue laughed and said, Let me ask you, what is the martial arts world? Ji Tuolong seemed to be interested. She wanted to continue talking nonsense with her brother Ju, so she said, I don't know, why don't you tell me, and I'll listen. Feng Bujue replied seriously, The martial arts world is a concept of nothingness. It is used to describe the relationship between a group of organized and undisciplined non-government armed forces. His explanation successfully stunned Ji Tuolong. Oh. Castellan Ji rarely responded like this, but at this moment she was a little confused. I don't think Castellan Ji is considered a martial arts world person, Feng Bujue said again. Does it not count? Ji Tuolong asked. No. Feng Bujue replied. Then what am I? Ji Tuolong asked again. You are rich, powerful, and have a group of private armed forces, a money bag, Feng Bujue said. Ha 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 ha. Ji Tuolong laughed heartily. After laughing for a while, she shook her head and said, I really didn't expect that someone would say that a Yuan sage is not a martial arts world person but a money bag in front of him. At this point, Ji Tuolong's expression changed and she changed the topic. If I am a money bag, then what are you? Her tone suddenly turned cold. Are you a beggar? No. Feng Bujue remained unmoved and sipped his tea leisurely. Then you are a storyteller, Ji Tuolong said again. Ha ha. Feng Bujue put down his teacup and said, Castellan Ji, are you saying that I am a liar who only knows how to talk? I didn't say that. Ji Yunlong stood up from his seat, clasped his hands behind his back like a man, and slowly walked around the pavilion. Although General Hua is injured, the person who can take his flowing fire cloud sword head-on is undoubtedly powerful. Then what do you mean? Feng Bujue asked. What I mean is, Ji Tuolong said slowly, you are very good at bluffing and deliberately mystifying things. Why do you say that? Feng Bujue asked. Ji Tuolong sneered and replied, Most people, especially men, after seeing me, most of them will be distracted and at a loss of what to do and say. When I make a request, they will often agree without hesitation, without considering the consequences. She turned around and glanced at Brother Bujue. You are different. What about me? Feng Bujue picked up the teapot and poured himself another cup of tea. You know how to pretend to be calm. You use some weird words to disturb my thoughts and bargain with me, Ji Tuolong replied. I agree with the part about bargaining, Feng Bujue corrected her. But the part about pretending to be calm, I don't. You really don't? Ji Tuolong asked. I really don't, Feng Bujue replied. That's strange. Ji Tuolong obviously didn't believe him. In this world, other than the elders in my family, even the enlightened monks will have some thoughts when they see me. She sat back down at the table. Master Feng, do you have a heart of stone? She picked up the teacup and took a sip. She looked at Brother Ju provocatively. In the next second, Feng Bujue calmly replied, I like men. Ji Tuolong had lived for more than 300 years. Whether she was a virtuous lady or a domineering lady, she had always maintained the image of a perfect woman in front of others. However, today she had spat out saliva in front of the two of them. You! Suppressing the urge to cough, Ji Tuolong wiped her face with her sleeves and stared at Brother Ju with her almond-shaped eyes. You! This, however, she soon realized that she had nothing to say in response. Hee. Sorry, I was just joking. 2 seconds later, Feng Bujue smiled maliciously. Like you, I like women. It's just that. I really want to see if you will spit out your tea. Scoundrel! Ji Tuolong was instantly enraged. She raised one hand and released a huge amount of saint essence toward Brother Ju's chest. Of course, although she was angry, she didn't intend to take his life. After all, Ji Tuolong was also a Yuan sage, and she still had her manners. She couldn't possibly kill someone just because he choked on his tea. Therefore, she accurately used the Extreme Saint Essence First Circulation Stage Limitless Saint Essence. Firstly, she wanted to test Brother Ju's strength, and secondly, she wanted to teach him a lesson. Bang! With a muffled sound, Feng Bujue was sent flying out of the stone pavilion. However, he wasn't sent flying by the attack. Instead, he instantly activated the body enhancement technique, Change and leaped out of the pavilion. The saint essence that Ji Tuolong had released chased after Brother Ju but didn't manage to touch his body. 2 seconds later, when Brother Ju arrived at the center of the lotus pond, he suddenly leaned back and flipped over. In an instant, he used the tip of his toes to perform 5 Tempest Kick. Tempest Kick, 5 stars. Because this was a high-level usage of the Tempest Kick that Feng Bujue had created, he gave it a name and even announced it. Boom! As soon as Brother Ju executed his move, a violent collision sound was heard in midair. The two energies collided in midair and emitted a strange red glow. After a few seconds, the energy dissipated and the glow dissipated. The lotus pond was rippling. Feng Bujue placed his hands behind his back and floated in midair. He said coldly, I'm fine. Don't get too worked up. City Lord Ji was just playing with me. On the other side, in the stone pavilion, unknowingly, Su Huaishang had appeared behind Ji Tuolong. The pair of sharp blades in her hands were already placed against City Lord Ji's neck. Chapter 722. 20 seconds ago, in the stone pavilion, Ji Xiaolong launched an attack, and Feng Bujue responded. So fast! Even Ji Leilong couldn't help but be shocked. When Feng Bujue jumped back, his speed had reached the limit of what her eyes could capture. In other words, if Brother Ju had moved a bit faster, Ji Leilong wouldn't have been able to see him clearly. At the same time, Su Huaishang also moved. She instinctively pulled out her twin swords and rushed towards Ji Leilong. Oh? Even Lady Su is also. Ji Tuolong didn't expect that the beautiful lady next to Master Feng was also a powerful warrior. She had purposely avoided Su Huaishang when she attacked, but now it seemed like she had done something unnecessary. Don't move. In the blink of an eye, Su Huaishang's voice sounded in Ji Leilong's ears. 2 cold blades were placed on Ji Leilong's neck. Of course, Ji Maolong was not someone to be trifled with. She was one of the strongest combatants in St. Chi world, so the possibility of her being suppressed by a sudden attack was slim. The moment the blade touched Ji Maolong's skin, she had already condensed her St. Chi and covered the surface of her body, forming an invisible layer of armor. Ji Xiaolong had already prepared a defensive measure, so he was not afraid. Therefore, he smiled and said calmly, "Miss Su, it seems that your pair of swords are not just for self-defense, right?" She paused for a moment and said slowly, "The intent of the blade comes first, the spirit is complete, and the strength is complete. You are a master. City Lord is too kind, it's just a small trick." Su Huaishang's expression was cold. She had already entered a serious state. Goddess Su was a very rational person. To her, no matter how beautiful Ji Leilong was, she was just an NPC in a game. She would not be infatuated with a virtual character, so, when it was time to attack, she would attack without hesitation. "I'm fine, don't get too excited. City Lord Ji is just playing with me." At this moment, Feng Bujue, who was floating above the lotus pond, spoke. "Phew!" Su Huaishang let out a long breath. She moved her hands away from Ji Leilong's neck. "Ha ha ha!" Ji Tuolong laughed and said, "Interesting, you two are both interesting." As she spoke, she turned to face the lotus pond and said to Feng Bujue, "Master Feng is indeed extraordinary. Even in that unavoidable situation just now, you were still able to turn the situation around and use your technique, and not your physical body to resist my Saint Origin energy. City Lord Ji, you have good eyes." Brother Ju also looked at him and replied in a low voice. When he said this, Feng Bujue's expression was very calm, but in his heart, he was already nervous. Yes, Brother Ju's power system was different from this world's, and this gave him a certain advantage. But power was power. As long as one could see through the rules, there was no advantage to speak of. Ji Leilong was indeed a Yuan sage. Compared to the previous opponents, she was on a completely different level. After just one round of battle, she had already analyzed Feng Bujue's weakness. He did not have the ability to directly resist Saint Origin energy attacks with his physical body. This woman was really scary. Then, should I target this weakness next? Ji Leilong asked again. Of course, Feng Bujue said. In a competition, it is common sense to attack the opponent's weakness. Are you going to use some dirty tricks again? At this moment, Su Huaishang, who was standing in the stone pavilion, suddenly interjected in a lukewarm tone. Hey! Feng Bujue had obviously been exposed and immediately shouted, Who are you on? Anyway, you are just comparing note. It's not like you want to take each other's lives. Su Huaishang said as she sheathed her sabers and sat back down at the table. She took a sip of tea and said, Under this premise, I support City Lord Ji. Ha 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 ha. Miss Su is really cute. Ji Leilong looked back at Su Huaishang affectionately, then looked at Brother Ju and said, Master Feng, are you really just friends? No, just earlier our friendship ended. Feng Bujue crossed his arms in front of his chest and replied grumpily. Su Huaishang was not to be outdone. I couldn't ask for more. Ji Leilong looked at the two of them and seemed to have thought of an idea. Good. Very good. As she muttered these words, her feet moved lightly and she stepped into the air. Her graceful body was like a falling leaf as she gently floated into the air. Above the lotus pond, she stood opposite Brother Ju and looked at him from afar. Master Feng, I have an idea. Ji Leilong smiled and said to Brother Ju, It's the same thing as what you did at the South Gate. Why don't the two of us make a bet? Humph. Feng Bujue snorted coldly. When Ji Leilong said the word idea, he had already guessed that her target was Su Huaishang. What kind of bet? It's very simple. The two of us will compare notes on this lotus pond. If Master Feng can touch my body in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, then you win. If you can't, then I win. Ji Lei Long replied. So what if I win? So what if you win? Feng Bujue tilted his head and asked with a smile like a ruffian. If Master Feng wins, I will immediately give you a high-grade magic treasure and send the two of you off. Ji Chuolong replied, If I win, I will also give Master Feng a mid-grade magic treasure and personally escort him out of the palace. However, here, she turned around to look at Su Huaishang. Miss Su will have to stay. Su Huaishang was stunned. That can't be right. What does your bet have to do with me? Do you mind if I ask, why did you ask her to stay? Feng Bujue's tone chilled and his eyes sharpened. Haha, you are not even friends. What does it have to do with you why I want her to stay? Ji Lei Long replied. That makes sense. Feng Bujue nodded. Hey! Su Huaishang was already angry. She shouted at them, Did the two of you hear what I said? Don't decide whether someone stays or leaves. Can I ask again? If she doesn't want to stay, do you have any way to make her stay? Feng Bujue asked again. Of course. Ji Lei Long smiled. From the moment you entered the Pity Fairy Palace, staying or leaving was not something you could decide. As soon as she said this, a thought flashed through Feng Bujue's mind. So, he blurted out, woman's fragrance? Master Feng, you're really smart, Ji Yulong said. Humph. I don't believe in body fragrance, anyway. Feng Bujue said. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't change anything. Ji Lei Long raised her right hand and started to stroke her hair. That's right. Woman's fragrance is not a body fragrance. It is a colorless, poisonous fog. If you stay in this fog for a while, you will not be able to breathe the air of the outside world. You can only leave the Pity Fairy Palace after you consume the antidote that I personally made. No wonder you have so many wives. Aren't you afraid that they will run away? Feng Bujue laughed. My women will never run away. Ji Lei Long let go of the hair in her hand and said coldly, Besides, that has nothing to do with you. She flung her sleeves and placed her hands behind her back. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Master Feng, what do you think about this bet? Hee. Feng Bujue shrugged and laughed. Can I not bet? Ji Lei Long smiled seductively. Take a guess. Brother Ju looked at Su Huaishang. Miss Su, what do you think? How about the two of us attack together and kill her? Su Huaishang suggested in a serious tone. That's a good idea. Feng Bujue replied. Compared to me fighting her alone, if the two of us work together, we have a higher chance of killing her. Master Feng, have you heard of the phrase, an ant trying to shake a tree? Ji Lei Long interrupted with a cold smile. However, Brother Ju ignored her and continued to talk to Su Huaishang. But there is a problem, even if we kill her, we may not be able to get the antidote. Plus, she has a lot of subordinates. Unless we can instantly kill her. Please note that this possibility is very small. Otherwise, she can call a few dozen St. Yuan infinity-level experts to help her at any time. At that time, the two of us will be finished. All right. After listening to Brother Ju's analysis, Su Huaishang gave up. She sat down and prepared to watch the show. Let's bet. It's okay to lose? Brother Ju saw this and asked maliciously. Actually, it's okay. Su Huaishang replied. Besides, I have the protection of the system. Nothing will happen. She pointed at Ji Lei Long. Besides, she is just a woman. What can she do to me? Due to the system's interference, Ji Lei Long did not hear the middle part of this sentence. However, she heard the beginning and the end. She immediately continued, Miss Su, please don't misunderstand. I asked you to stay because I want to talk to you about the weather and enjoy the scenery. There is nothing wrong, fine. You don't have to explain it to me. Su Huaishang interrupted impatiently. If you want to fight, then fight, Okay. Ji Lei Long did not know whether Su Huaishang's reaction was good or bad. Up until now, things had been going according to her script. Now, in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea and a mediocre mid-grade magic treasure, she would be able to send Feng Bujue away, Governor Ji. Feng Bujue's floating time was almost up. He stood on the water and said casually, "I can start at any time." Okay. Ji Lei Long waved her sleeves and an hourglass appeared in her hand. This time, it will take the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. As she said this, she threw the hourglass behind her. The hourglass spun a few times in the air and suddenly stopped. It remained vertical and did not move. At this moment, the sand began to flow. "Master Feng, please." Before Ji Lei Long could finish the word "please," she realized that Feng Bujue had disappeared from her sight. Chapter 723. Heh. Master Feng, you are indeed an expert. Ji Xiaolong smiled and said, "I thought you used all of your speed when you leaped out of the pavilion." Chi. Before Ji Tuolong could finish her words, 2 beams of golden light had already darted out from the air, drawing 2 strange arcs in the air and attacking her ribs. "I didn't expect you to still be holding back." As she spoke, she raised her right hand and formed an eggshell-shaped Saint Origin energy field in front of her. It's just that the flying speed of these 2 spells isn't as fast as the speed of your body. In the next second, the 2 death poker cards hit the Saint Origin energy force field. The former was instantly turned into dust. "And it's ridiculously weak." Ji Xiaolong looked at the golden dust and shook her head as she muttered. Bang! Almost at the same time as she spoke, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind her. It was the sound of Brother Ju using the body enhancement spell, Change, and using all of his strength to perform the moon steps. With this push, Feng Bujue's speed had reached the limit of his current state. If there was no accident, in half a second, Brother Ju would catch Ji Tanlong with a beautiful grappling move and win the bet. His battle strategy was simple, clear, and efficient. Strike first to gain the initiative, create a diversion, and capture the enemy in one move. From the sudden acceleration at the beginning, to the feint attack with the death poker cards, to the sneak attack from behind, everything was done in one go. However, this time, he miscalculated. Suddenly, the sound of boiling water came from the sky, followed by a red mist of blood. Then, the sound of 3 powerful moon steps could be heard. Bang, bang, bang. With each step, Ji Xiaolong moved further away from Ji Xiaolong. "Humph. Master Feng, how are you? Are you hurt?" Ji Xiaolong slowly turned around and asked in the direction of the sound. On the other side, Feng Bujue's figure reappeared amidst the bloody light. For some unknown reason, his 2 forearms were already dripping with blood. "I see. No wonder you put forward the condition of, I win, if I touch your body within a certain period of time." Feng Bujue took the opportunity to deactivate the body enhancement technique, shook his arms, and said, "You're relying on your protective energy shield, aren't you?" "Protective energy shield?" Ji Chuolong murmured, "This is the first time I've heard something like this." "Then what do you suggest?" Feng Bujue asked. "Heh." Ji Welong smiled and said, "Actually, I don't know what it is called either." She paused for a moment before revealing a rather proud look. "This technique is a technique I created after I stepped into the Yuan Sage realm. I have almost never used it in front of anyone, so it has yet to be named." At this point, she put her hands behind her back and made a fearless gesture. "Oh, that's right, Master Feng is an otherworldly expert and has seen many things. He must have seen similar techniques before, which is why he was able to name it. I think we might as well call it the protective energy shield." "Interesting." As Feng Bujue muttered these 3 words, his thoughts were racing and he immediately saw a flaw. "Since you have a protective energy shield, Why did you use your Saint Origin energy as a shield to block my flying cards just now? It's my instinct, Ji Chuolong replied calmly. Ji Xiaolong's expression didn't change, and he replied calmly, it's like, you've already mastered the diamond body, but when a knife is flying towards your face, as long as it's not too late, you'll still block it with your hand first. Okay, then block it again and let me see. As Feng Bujue spoke, a golden light flashed in his hand, and the fifth special effect of the death poker, soul chasing, randomly consumed 30 cards to release 1 to 100 cards with a power of 7 in an instant was activated. In the blink of an eye, 100 golden lights flew out. Under the precise control of the zero-time difference calculation, these light cards attacked Ji Tuolong at slightly different speeds and from 100 different angles. TSK. Ji Tuolong saw this and snorted unhappily. She immediately clenched her fists and made a move. A vast amount of Saint Origin energy gushed out. In an instant, a protective energy shield with a radius of 10 feet appeared with Ji Tuolong as the center. No matter how tricky the attacking angles of the 100 golden lights were or how well they coordinated with each other, they could only be reduced to nothingness in front of this defense that had no blind spots. Castellan Ji, according to my observation. Feng Bujue touched his chin and said thoughtfully, your protective energy shield seems to have some flaws. Ji Tuolong saw through her lies and could only admit it. I can't help it. She waved her sleeves and retracted the Saint Origin energy shield. Yes, my energy shield can only erode physical objects. It can't defend against spells. She raised her head and looked at Brother Ju from the corner of her eyes. It's okay to let you know. After all, my energy shield can last for the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. Feng Bujue finished her sentence and said with a smile. You. Ji Tuolong's expression changed and she was speechless. However, an expert was an expert. She quickly accepted the reality in front of her and calmed down. She said in a low voice, Good. Feng Bujue, you're really something. The look in her eyes changed. From the moment they met until now, she cupped her fists and saluted Brother Ju for the first time. Master Feng, you're smart and smart. I admire you. You flatter me. Feng Bujue also saluted her out of politeness. However, to me, even if I know all this, it's useless. After all, you're a Yuan sage and your Saint Origin energy is as vast as the sea. It's impossible for you to deplete it in a short time. As long as you still have energy, your energy shield will not be shortened. In that case, I won't be able to take advantage of it. Your analysis is very reasonable, Ji Tuolong said. Master Feng, are you going to admit defeat? No, what I mean is. Feng Bujue said, let's double the bet. What did you say? Ji Tuolong was shocked. She could not believe her ears. The conditions remain the same. The winner will still be decided by whether I can touch your body. Feng Bujue pointed to the hourglass in the sky. You don't have to start the countdown again. Let's use the remaining time to bet. Hey, what are you trying to do now? Su Huaishang rested her chin on her hands and stared at Feng Bujue. It seemed like Goddess Su had resigned herself to her fate. Then, how do we double the bet? Ji Tuolong had thought that her brother Ju wanted to use this method to reset time. She had not expected him to say that there was no need for that. Now, she was interested. Hee. Feng Bujue chuckled wickedly. The mayor should have heard that there was a Miss Lu who entered the city with me. She's also beautiful enough to captivate the birds and beasts, and outshine the moon and flowers. She can be said to be on par with that Miss Su, and they both have their own merits. Thank you for the compliment. Su Huaishang took a sip of tea and said calmly, Come. Feng Bujue ignored her and continued, I suggest that we change the bet to, if I lose, not only will I leave Miss Su behind, but I will also invite Miss Lu over. Furthermore, I won't take a single magic treasure. Ji Tuolong's expression changed. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. If you win, So what? If I win, naturally I will take Miss Sue with me. Feng Bujua shrugged and smiled. He looked very relaxed and confident. However, I still don't want your magic treasure. Ji Tuolong was not only confused, she was even a little surprised. Then what do you want? Feng Bujua, before you answer her question, I have to remind you. Before Brother Ju could say anything, Su Huaishang spoke first. If you say anything strange. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Brother Ju fiercely. I will call the police. Feng Bujua rolled his eyes at her impatiently and replied in a reprimanding tone, It's up to you whether you want to repay me or not. I'm doing something serious here, so stop interrupting me with your nonsense. Su Huaishang had never been treated like this by someone of the opposite sex. She was stunned before she could react. Brother Ju had already turned to look at Ji Tuolong. He said seriously, If I win, City Lord Ji, will you let me go to your heavenly book world? Chapter 724. Upon hearing this, an unconcealable look of surprise flashed across Ji Yunlong's face. She hesitated for 2 seconds before asking in a deep voice, Master Feng, who exactly are you? Why have you come to my harem city? Don't worry, I'm not here to steal your treasure. Feng Bujua said, In fact, before I met you, I didn't know that you had the bamboo scroll of the heavenly book. He raised his hand and pointed at Ji Yunlong. It's just that, the treasure you have is too powerful. Even if you keep it in your dimensional pocket, it won't be able to hide its power. So, I was curious and observed it for a while. I recognized, it was the heavenly book. Naturally, Ji Tuolong was not completely convinced by Brother Ju's explanation. She asked with suspicion, You mean you can see the treasure that I have hidden inside the neon cloud sleeve? I can't. Feng Bujua replied bluntly. But it's difficult for me to explain it to you in a way that you can understand. He looked at the hourglass in the sky and continued, So, I don't want to explain it in detail. Otherwise, I won't have time to defeat you. Interesting. Ji Yunlong's mind raced as she weighed the situation in front of her several times in a very short period of time. She then smiled and said, All right, I'll bet with you. If I lose, I'll personally take you to the heavenly book realm. It's a deal. Feng Bujua looked straight into her eyes and said firmly, It's a deal. Ji Xiaolong responded in the same way and said, Come, Master Feng, you don't have much time left. You have to be careful, City Lord Ji. The next attack will be more dangerous. Feng Bujua's eyes turned cold as he said this. Please show mercy, Master Feng. At this moment, Ji Xiaolong no longer had the slightest bit of carelessness in her heart. She had already viewed Feng Bujua as an enemy of equal or even stronger than her. This was the mental state of a Yuan sage. Experts who were able to cultivate to this level not only possessed the pride of an expert, but also a reverence for power. A true cultivator would never become more aggressive the stronger their power was. On the contrary, as their cultivation increased, they would become more cautious in their attacks, and their mentality would become calmer. Because the higher their cultivation, the more thorough their understanding of power would be. They would gradually realize how insignificant they were, so insignificant that they were not even worth mentioning. I'll do my best, Feng Bujua said as he took out a syringe from his backpack and stabbed it into his neck without hesitation. 2 seconds later, an entire tube of unknown liquid was pushed into his vein without leaving a single drop behind. His expression changed strangely in an instant, and his right hand involuntarily covered the left side of his chest. Hey, what is that? Su Huaishang asked worriedly. Could it be some kind of stimulant? Her intuition was still quite sharp. What Feng Bujua had just injected was the last dose of Bane's blood in his body. Phew. I can't take the next move with my current physical fitness. Brother Ju took a deep breath and replied, so I have to use some items to assist me. That's impossible. How did you learn a skill that your body can't take? Su Huaishang asked curiously. This is not a skill given by the system. By then, Feng Bujue had already adjusted his breathing, and he replied calmly, It is a skill that I created myself. It is just like the Rankyaku, 5 stars earlier, but it is much more complicated. It seems that Master Feng's attack is no small matter. Ji Yunlong did not comment on Brother Ju's stimulant behavior. Instead, she fiercely circulated her Saint Origin energy and once again used the omnidirectional Saint Origin energy force field, intending to deal with any changes. Impressive. I haven't even made a move yet, but you seem to have already guessed what I'm going to do. Feng Bujue said. I understand, Ji Yunlong replied. Ji Tuolong replied, You want to unleash a heaven-shaking power in an instant to break my Saint Chi wall and my protective energy shield. She paused for a moment, and a wisp of cold sweat appeared on her temples. If it were me, I could only think of this method. Since the City Lord is mentally and physically prepared. Phew! Feng Bujue took another deep breath and adjusted his essence, chi, and spirit to their best state. Then, this Feng will offend you. Before he finished speaking, Feng Bujue disappeared from Ji Yunlong's sight again. Asterisk pung pung pung. Asterisk chi 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 chi. Asterisk in the next second, 2 different sounds of something breaking through the air intertwined and rang out at a high frequency. Tempest leg. 8 gates triumphant bird, it's coming from 8 directions at the same time? Ji Yunlong was indeed very smart. She instantly determined the direction of the attack from the rapid sound. However, this didn't change her strategy. The reason why Ji Yunlong chose to stay on the defensive was because she knew that she couldn't catch up with Brother Ju's speed. Even if she moved, it would be futile, and she might even reveal some flaws. Instead of doing something that she wasn't confident in, it was better to stay still and focus on strengthening her double defensive force field. This was the safer and more reasonable way to deal with the attack. Buzz, buzz. Soon, the sound of energy clashing against each other spread out around Ji Yunlong. She focused her eyes and saw 8 swan-shaped cyan and white lights. They had surrounded her from 8 different directions and were continuously exerting pressure on her Saint Origin energy wall. He moved 8 times almost in an instant, and every time he moved, he kicked out a powerful attack at me. Ji Tuolong was shocked. He is indeed powerful, but not powerful enough to. What? Thinking of this, Ji Yunlong suddenly realized that the Saint Origin energy wall that she had created with all her strength had already started to crack. Recently, when I was chatting with someone, Ryu, we talked about an interesting topic. At this moment, Feng Bujue's voice rang out again. It was about how to effectively destroy an object's defense. As he spoke, his body appeared in the air. Not to mention the impact that the attack had on the enemy, Brother Ju himself was now covered in blood. She told me that no matter what it is, no matter its size, mass, density, or structure, it has a weakness. Feng Bujue was still talking, as if the pain didn't affect him at all. So I asked, if there was a perfect sphere made of pure energy, wouldn't the strength of every part of the sphere be the same? Then, wouldn't there be no weakness? He chuckled. Haha. In the end, she immediately told me a way to break this kind of barrier. Chapter 725. Under normal circumstances, in the face of such a comprehensive and indiscriminate defense, choosing any point and concentrating your strength to break through is a feasible strategy. Feng Bujue continued, however, this method is ineffective against a force field that can be fine-tuned instantly. He looked at Ji Chuolong and said, Take your Saint Origin wall for example, City Lord Ji. If I concentrate all the slashes in one direction, it will be easier for you to deal with. You can immediately transfer all the Saint Origin energy in your entire force field to the point of impact and steadily block the attack. When Brother Ju said this, Ji Chuolong no longer had the energy to respond to him. At this moment, although Ji Chuolong's Saint Origin wall had not collapsed yet, it was already full of cracks and was on the verge of collapse. She could only maintain the force field by continuously transferring Saint Origin energy to the surrounding barrier. Therefore, she very much hoped that Brother Ju would continue talking. It would be best if this guy could continue until the power of the 8 slashes was exhausted or the sand in the hourglass ran out. However, the method she taught me can solve this problem very well. Feng Bujue's expression changed slightly as he continued. Let's take City Lord Ji's defensive force field as an example. It looks like a perfect circle, but what if I apply 8 powerful and slightly different attacks to this circle from 8 different directions at the same time? What will happen? What a terrifying man! At this moment, Ji Chuolong had already given Feng Bujue this evaluation in her heart. She thought to herself, after using the move just now, his body can no longer bear the burden and is on the verge of collapse. However, his expression is still so calm and his thoughts and words are still as orderly as a net. Let alone an ordinary person, even a Yuan sage expert would not be able to do this in a situation where their body is severely damaged and in great pain. The result is like this. Although your Saint Origin wall has not been broken yet, Feng Bujue continued, a flaw has already appeared. At this point, Brother Ju raised his hand and pointed at the Saint Origin wall in front of Ji Chuolong. The place he was pointing at was where a group of cracks intersected. If I'm not wrong, that is the point where your Saint Origin force field will be broken. Furthermore, if you follow this trajectory, your protective barrier will also be broken. Upon hearing this, Ji Chuolong's eyes flashed with fear, followed by a trace of murderous intent. Outrageous. After a bet, an unknown master of the sword Chahitsa actually saw my Achilles heel. When Ji Chuolong thought of this, she had already made up her mind to kill Feng Bujue. It turned out that the spot that Brother Ju had pointed at, which was 3 centimeters away from Ji Yunlong's navel, was the weak spot of this Yuan sage. Achilles heel. To a cultivator it was like Siegfried's leaf mark, Achilles heel, or ozil in the human wall. In short, it was a very crucial weakness that could not be overcome through cultivation. Usually, only the cultivator knew his own Achilles heel. Even the teacher would not know where his disciple's Achilles heel was. In most cases, the cultivator would carry this secret with him to the grave. Unless the cultivator told him personally, no one else would be able to tell. However, Feng Bujue, who was unaware of this, had directly pointed out Ji Chuolong's Achilles heel. This was enough to make the other party want to kill him. This man is smart and cunning. His skills are amazing. His mind is unimaginable and unpredictable. Ji Chuolong said, no matter if he is a friend or a foe, he is beyond my control. I have to find a chance to kill him. On the other hand, Feng Bujue did not know what Ji Chuolong was thinking. He continued, it is said that there is an ability called the demon eye of death in this world. People with this ability can see crisscrossing lines on the surface of objects, as well as many points that make up the lines. Lines are lines that can easily divide and destroy objects, and points are the death of objects. He paused for a moment. Although I don't have such a rare and heaven-defying ability, my Tempest Kick, 8 Gates Triumphant Bird, can make the lines appear for a certain period of time through the principles of Chimenduanjia. Stop bragging. Isn't it just a powerful Tempest Kick from 8 different directions? Chimenduanjia. Su Huaishang narrowed her eyes and said, The sand is almost gone. Feng Bujue ignored Su Huaishang's sarcasm and looked up at the hourglass. He then raised his right hand and said, Castellan Ji, I am going to break through your Saint Elemental Wall and protective shield. Don't be offended if my finger touches your abdomen. Wait. Ji Chuolong's face showed a hint of urgency. She immediately stopped him. No need. I admit defeat. In this dangerous situation, Ji Chuolong's judgment was still rational. She knew that she was going to lose, so she could not let that man take advantage of her, for as long as she could remember, she, Ji Chuolong, had never been touched by a man. Not to mention skin to skin, she had never even been touched by a man's arm through her clothes. She was the one who proposed this bet under the mentality that she would never be caught. Therefore, she chose to admit defeat and stopped Feng Bujue from moving forward. Brother Ju also appeared to be very gentlemanly. He shrugged and revealed a non-committal expression. "Fine, thank you." Then, he turned around and leaped back into the pavilion. "Phew. That's great." Brother Ju's feet touched the ground. He stumbled 2 steps and fell toward the stone table. "Hey, are you okay?" This time it was Su Huaishang's turn to be nervous. She quickly helped her brother Ju to the table. "Of course I am," Feng Bujue replied. "I have 12% of my life points left, 2,000 stamina points, and a good consumable item." "You sure put in a lot of effort," Su Huaishang stammered. Thank you." At the end of the day, Brother Ju risked his life to save Goddess Su. With that in mind, Su Huaishang thanked Gu Jun sincerely. Unfortunately, this gratitude was soon to be gone, because, "There's no need to thank me," Feng Bujue replied. "Actually, I already planned to betray you. Earlier, I was just bluffing. If she insisted on not surrendering, then it would have been over for me." He spread out his hands and said nonchalantly, "My current physical condition doesn't allow me to move at high speed in a short period of time. Even if I find the opponent's weakness, I don't have the ability to break through the 2 layers of defense with my physical body." "What?" When Su Huaishang heard that, her face turned red from anger. But she quickly suppressed her anger. She glanced at Ji Xiaolong, who was sitting on the lotus pond. The energy around Ji Xiaolong had not dissipated, so she could not move. Then she lowered her voice and said to Brother Ju, "Then why are you still playing this game? Are you crazy? You don't get it, do you? This is a high-level bluffing game." Feng Bujue replied, "Even if you have a bunch of loose cards in your hand, as long as there is a possibility of a flush on the cards, even if you have 3 aces in your hand, your opponent will still panic." "So you're trying to look like you're going to win?" Su Huaishang replied. "It is because I look like I'm going to win that my opponent will feel pressured psychologically." Feng Bujue continued, "Furthermore, my wind foot, 8 gates triumphant bird and the theory of Chimenduanjia are all real. This is what they mean by, there's reality in the illusion and there's reality in the illusion. In between the illusion and reality, the psychological pressure on the opponent will build up and eventually, she will believe the illusion as the truth and make the decision to surrender. But all of this is based on one premise." Su Huaishang followed Brother Ju's train of thought and continued, "Are you so sure that she would rather surrender than let you touch her?" "I'm about 70 to 80% sure." Feng Bujue replied, "Of course, if she really wants to be touched by me, it's fine. I'm not afraid. I'll put on a lecherous expression and come up with a lewd name for my move. Before I make my move, I'll ask, 'Castellan G, are you ready for my move?'" "Oh." When she heard this, Su Huaishang's expression had returned to normal. She was silent for a moment before she looked directly at Brother Ju. She could not help but say, "To be fair, your level of shamelessness is really refreshing." Chapter 726. Brother Ju did not mind Su Huaishang's comment at all. He continued, "Besides, even if the plan fails, I still have a backup plan. The double the bet is not only a bluff, it also provides me with a backup plan. If I really lose the bet, I can use it as an excuse to ask Lu Te and 23 for help. Even if you lose the bet, you can still go," Su Huaishang said. "You can still get a mid-grade magic treasure, right?" "How naive." Feng Bujue laughed. "If I lose the bet and leave with a mid-grade magic treasure, then when I come back later, she probably won't want to see me again. Even if I bring reinforcements, she can just come up with a random excuse and refuse to see me. But, if Lu Te is really as beautiful as you say, then Ji Tuolong will still see her. Su Huaishang mumbled. When she said this, she was a bit embarrassed because Feng Bujue praised both her and Lu Te at the same time. So when she said this, it sounded like she was praising herself. Then there will be a lot of variables. Feng Bujue noticed the change in Su Huaishang's expression, but he just smiled and did not say anything. Who knows what will happen when I go back and forth? At this point, the two of them suddenly heard a soft shout. They looked towards the source of the sound. It was Ji Tuolong who was sitting on the lotus pond. She had finally neutralized all the energy around her. 2 seconds later, Castellan Ji retracted her wall of Saint Essence and her energy shield. She waved her sleeve and the hourglass in the sky disappeared. She adjusted her breathing and her expression. She raised her head slightly and looked at the man and woman in the stone pavilion again. Master Feng, you are quite injured. Yes. Feng Bujue raised his voice and turned around to answer. He admitted it. Ji Tuolong could not see through the man in front of her. She could not predict what he would say or do next. Actually, I was just about to ask. Obviously, Feng Bujue wasn't done yet. Just now was just kicking the nose. The following content was, taking advantage of the face. I wonder if Castellan Ji would be able to provide me with some healing pills or something, so that I can take 2 pills to deal with it. Brother Ju didn't hesitate to make an outrageous request. How dare he ask me for healing pills? Ji Welong was already cursing in her mind. How shameless can this guy be? He hasn't even started the fight yet, and he's already talking about conditions and benefits. After the fight, he wants me to take care of his wounds. If he accidentally cripples you, do you think I'll have to take care of you for the rest of your life? Of course. If Castellan Ji finds it inconvenient, then forget it. After 2 seconds, Feng Bujue said again, although Broken Sword Chahitsu is a small sect in the mountains, we still have a few healing pills. As he said that, he put his hand into his bag. This action was like putting your hand into your shirt to take something out. I can use mine, his eyes and actions. It was as if he was saying, as the Castellan of the harem, you can't even give me some healing pills. How stingy. No need. Ji Welong immediately stopped Brother Ju. She bit her lower lip and said fiercely, I'll give you. After that, she floated down from the lotus pond and landed back in the pavilion. After a short while, Castellan Ji took out a palm-sized white jade bottle from her cloud neon sleeve and placed it on the stone table. This is the Ji family's ancestral healing panacea, the essence cleansing marrow powder. If Master Feng doesn't mind, please take it. Ji Yulong was fuming with anger, but she was still a Yuan sage expert and a city lord, so it was not good for her to lose her temper in order to maintain her composure. She could only suppress her anger and hand over the medicine. Thank you, Feng Bujue said gratefully, but there was no gratitude in his expression. Before he could finish his sentence, he quickly picked up the bottle on the table and held it tightly in his hand. Name, Yuan Cleansing Marrow Powder *7 Type, Consumable, Quality, Excellent Function, Full Recovery of Vitality, Stamina, and Spiritual Energy. Recovery effect is not affected and will not decrease. Can be taken out of the scenario. Yes, remark. One of the strongest healing pills in the Saint Yuan world. The moment he saw the item description, Feng Bujue muttered to himself, this is good stuff. Isn't this equivalent to a senzu bean? As he thought of this, he opened the cork of the bottle and took one of the pills. Then, he very smoothly put the bottle into his bag. Ji Welong narrowed her eyes. She rarely showed this kind of expression, and looked at her brother Bujue. This guy. Is he going to return the rest of the medicine to me? Just as she was hesitating whether to take the opportunity to throw a tantrum, a gentle voice suddenly sounded in the pavilion. Castellan, General Su wishes to see you. Judging from the voice, it seemed to be Lin Quebec. However, she could only hear the voice and not see the person. She must have used some kind of long-distance voice transmission technique. What's the matter? Ji Welong tilted her head slightly and asked in a deep voice. He said, he found two beauties and wants to introduce them to you, Castellan, Lin Ke replied. Ji Welong pursed her lips and continued, I don't have time now, let them wait. At this time, Fong Bujue suddenly interrupted, Castellan Ji, there's no need to rush. I also want to rest for a while before exploring the heavenly book world. He looked at Ji Welong. Since the guests are already here, I think Castellan might as well meet them here. Miss Su and I will take a walk nearby. I promise we won't disturb you. Master Fong, Ji Welong said, I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Of course it's not appropriate. First of all, this is other people's home, not yours. What does it have to do with you whether or not they want to see you? Furthermore, even if they want to see you, there's no need for you to wander around, right? But Fong Bujue didn't care about that. When he heard the words two beauties, he sensed something. Considering the existence of the woman's fragrance, he had to personally confirm that the guests were not his teammates. Oh! After being rejected, Brother Ju showed a deep expression and nodded. That's right. Look at my memory, I almost forgot. He laughed a few times and looked at Ji Welong with a gaze that only men would use with each other. Don't worry, Castellan Ji, I won't tell anyone about this. I understand. What do you know? What do you know? What are you going to tell everyone? Ji Welong was inexplicably going crazy. But on the surface, Castellan Ji forced herself to remain calm. Master Fong, did you misunderstand something? All right. You don't have to explain. Fong Bujue interrupted her. I didn't see anything and I don't know anything. His attitude left Ji Welong with no other choice, sigh. Castellan Ji closed her eyes and sighed. She gave up on explaining and only used a voice transmission technique to say to Lin Ke, let Xiao Xiao bring the guests in. Just come directly to Gu He Pavilion. Understood. Lin Ke's reply was immediately heard. After about 5 or 6 minutes, 3 beautiful women slowly walked out from the flower forest. Su Xiao Xiao, who was walking at the front, was dressed in men's clothing. However, her curvaceous body had already revealed her gender. The birthmark on her face also made her stand out. Following closely behind were Rainy and Hanajian. From the NPC's point of view, they were 2 heroines dressed in martial arts attire. Moreover, they were both as beautiful as fairies, valiant and valiant. They are indeed beautiful. Just by looking at Ruo Yu and Hua Jian, Ji Welong's face showed a trace of fondness. The anger that was aroused by Brother Ju immediately dissipated by half. Xiao Xiao said that she wasn't good at this job, but didn't she do very well? Ji Welong, who was in a good mood, smiled as she picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. First, it was to moisten her mouth, and second, it was to calm her mind. However, in the very next second, a shocking exchange of words rang out from beside him. Wife. What a coincidence. PFFF. Ji Welong instantly spat out another mouthful of tea. Then, she turned her head with a shocked expression and looked at Brother Ju, who had said that sentence. Then, she turned her head to look at the 2 guests, who had already walked a few meters away. You're not talking to me, are you? Ruo Yu used a look that she learned from Brother Ju, which was similar to "Are you King kidding me?" and glared at Brother Ju coldly. Castellan Ji, I didn't think that there would be such a coincidence. Fong Bujue did not directly answer Ruo Yu's question. Instead, he turned his head to Ji Welong and said, Let me introduce you. This is my wife, the female owner of Broken Sword Chahitsu. She is known as the 1000 Evil Slayer Li Ruoyu. The person beside her is the head of Broken Sword Chahitsu, Shi Shang Huajian. Brother Ju was indeed quick-witted. His words were like a statement that he had made with his teammates in front of the NPC. Ruoyu and Huajian were also smart people, so they naturally understood and did not refute Brother Ju. This time Su Xiaoxiao was embarrassed. She did not even have time to greet the castellan before she heard this. Although she did not know who the man and woman beside the castellan were, those who could enter the Pity Fairy Palace were all important guests. She did not want to offend them. Therefore, she could only bite the bullet and say to Ji Yuelong, "Castellan, I did not do my job well. It's okay." Ji Yuelong did not let Su Xiaoxiao continue. "Xiaoxiao, you can leave now. There's nothing for you to do here." "Yes." Su Xiaoxiao hesitated for half a second before she bowed. She glanced at Feng Bujue and Su Huaishang before she turned and left. After she left, Ji Yuelong let out a long sigh. A strange light flashed in her eyes. After a while, she opened her mouth and said, "Since you are all acquaintances of Master Feng, then it's easy to talk." She looked at Ruoyu and Huajian and said, "The two of you came at the right time. Just now I had a bet with Master Feng. In the end, I lost." Her tone had already regained its usual indifference, but if one listened carefully, one could even hear a trace of frightening coldness. "Right now, I'm planning to invite Master Feng and Lady Su to my heavenly book world. I wonder if the two of you are willing to come with me?" Chapter 727. While Feng Bujue and the others were preparing to enter the heavenly book realm, outside Harem City, a conspiracy was quietly unfolding. "This sunset glow is so beautiful," a gentle voice slowly spoke above the dark sea. The man who spoke looked to be in his 30s. He was handsome and had an imposing appearance. He wore a luxurious brocade robe with a belt with a dragon pattern around his waist and a pair of cloud luster boots on his feet. His long hair was tied up with a crown adorned with pearls. No matter how one looked at it, this was an extraordinary person. At this moment, this man was standing on a bronze flying sword and floating in midair. He seemed to be talking to another man in front of him. The other man was Yin Lulan. "The glow of the primordial spirit dissipation is naturally very beautiful," Yin Lulan replied without turning his head. After hearing this, the man smiled and said, "Emo Ruchio is the eldest son of the Emo family after all. Aren't you afraid that the Emo family will come after you for killing him?" "Brother Ji, don't you think your question is ridiculous?" Yin Lulan said as he turned his flying sword around and faced the other man. The man whom he addressed as Brother Ji was none other than Ji Yuelong's elder brother, the current head of the Ji family and a Yuan sage expert, Ji Xuanzong. "Haha, that's true." Ji Xuanzong chuckled and rubbed his nose. "After tonight, Brother Yin will no longer have to hide your true strength from the world. When the time comes, Emo Ruchio's death will become a very good trigger. If the Emo family comes after you for revenge, you can take advantage of the situation to defeat them and become famous." "Yes, Brother Ji is the only one who understands me." When he said this, although Yin Lulan's tone was very pleasant, his face was still tense. All these years, in order to hide his ambitions, Yin Lulan could be said to have schemed day and night. In order to not reveal his true thoughts, he simply kept his facial muscles tense and maintained an indifferent expression all year round. The current him, unless he was greatly agitated, or if he was doing it on purpose, otherwise there would not be any obvious changes in his expression. "Heh, same here," Ji Xianzong replied. "In the entire Saint Yuan world, the only person who understands my Ji Xianzong is you, Brother Yin." At this point, the two of them looked at each other and smiled. Their smiles contained an extremely deep tacit understanding and trust. It was obvious that they had known each other for a long time. And the grand hegemony that they were about to promote was something that had been brewing for many years. "That's right, Brother Yin," Ji Xuanzong said after a few seconds. What's the current situation in the city? Did anything happen that might affect our plan? Not at all, Yin Lulan replied confidently. Just like the previous years, there are indeed many wanderers and strange people in the city, but those who can reach the seventh transformation of Saint Origin and above can be counted on one's fingers. He glanced at the multicolored light above the sea. And now one is dead. Ji Xuanzong nodded and said, in other words, the only people in the city who can pose a threat to us are my sister, Su Xiaoxiao, and Lin Quebec. It can't be considered a threat. Yin Lulan said, once I use my true abilities, even if Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Ke work together, they won't be able to last more than 10 minutes. He paused and looked at Ji Xuanzong. As for your sister, Brother Ji, you have a way to subdue her, don't you? Of course. Ji Xuanzong smiled and replied, when I gave her the heavenly book bamboo scroll, she would never have thought that. I still had a trick up my sleeve, so there's nothing to worry about. Yin Lulan's gaze gradually changed and the flames of ambition flashed in his eyes. After tonight, this harem city will become our base. With this as the starting point, we can swallow the 4 countries around the Scarlet Sea in half a month and occupy a quarter of the St. Yuan world's territory within a year. Dominating the world is just around the corner. At the same time, in the Heavenly Book world, Brother Zhu Ruoyu, Hua Jian, and Su Huaishang had already entered the space inside the Heavenly Book bamboo scroll under Ji Chuolong's guidance. The terrain here was like a flat-bottomed bowl. In the middle was a wide and empty plain. The ground was flat and yellow. In the middle of the plain was a small house made of bricks, tiles, and wood. Beside the house stood a black stone tablet. This area was surrounded by mountains, rivers, and clouds. There were a few sparse peach trees at the foot of the mountain. It could be considered a natural scenery. Wow, what is this place? Hua Jian asked in surprise as she looked at the changing scenery around her. There's another world inside the bamboo scroll, Ji Chuolong replied in a deep voice. This is the Heavenly Book world. He seems to be very powerful. Hua Jian replied with a confused expression. The powerful one is your master Feng. Ji Chuolong said as she looked at Brother Zhu's face. I still don't understand how you knew that I had the Heavenly Book bamboo scroll. If I have to explain. Feng Bujue put his hands behind his head and put on a leisurely expression. Because this set of data is too strong, even if I put it in the storage space, the data will still flow out from it. It's like a firefly in a plastic bag. Naturally, I would take a second look at something so strong. So, after a detailed observation and analysis of the data, I deciphered the name of this item from the data perspective and found out that it is called the Heavenly Book bamboo scroll. He said a long string of words in one breath. However, more than half of the content was blocked by the system. The NPCs only understood half of it. As for the 3 teammates beside him, only Ruoyu could understand what he was saying. Forget it. After a few seconds, Ji Chuolong replied, it seems like Master Feng is right. Even if you explain it in detail, I might not be able to understand. Isn't that so? Feng Bujue shrugged. But I have another question. Ji Chuolong continued. This heavenly book was obtained by my brother from a heretical deity when he was young. I won't go into the details of the karma behind it. In short, this book should be a divine item from another world. Theoretically speaking, other than my brother and I, no one else in this world should be able to recognize this item. She paused and looked Brother Zhu in the eyes. However, Master Feng not only mentioned the name of the Heavenly Book, but also the existence of the Heavenly Book world. Her tone changed slightly. Combining all the strange words and actions that Master Feng has said earlier, I have a guess. Is the people from Broken Sword Chahitsu related to that heretical deity? Hearing Ji Chuolong's words, Feng Bujue's mind was racing. Of course, he remembered the name of the heretical deity. After the sword duel in Chonglin ended, Xiao Tan and Xiao Ling had told Brother Ju about their experience in the maze at the bottom of the town. At the time, Brother Ju had speculated that this heretical deity was a powerful character who could travel through time and space. Now Ji Chuelong's words proved that his speculation was correct. Oh, heretical deity? I've heard of him before. Feng Bujue quickly put on a smile and started to bluff Ji Chuelong. Unfortunately, this deity has always been elusive, and I've never had the chance to meet him. He changed the topic. However, I do have 2 disciples who received the spells that heretical deity passed down. If we're talking about relationship, that's probably it. He paused for 2 seconds before continuing. Oh, about the heavenly book. I didn't know about it from heretical deity Zhua, but from a swift rock deity. I see. Ji Chuelong nodded. Master Feng is indeed an otherworldly expert. He is wise and knowledgeable. I have to say that I am impressed. Haha. You flatter me, Feng Bujue said with a smile. Speaking of which, there is something that I don't understand. I hope you can enlighten me. Please, Ji Chuelong said. City Lord Ji, you must have had this heavenly book for many years, right? Feng Bujue continued. What I want to ask is... He turned around and looked around. Why is there still only a thatched hut here? He widened his eyes and asked, where is the ghost deity array? Where is the immortal spell hall? Where is the heavenly clothing workshop? Where is the alchemy workshop? Where is the heavenly designer pagoda? Master Feng, I've never heard of or seen what you're talking about, Ji Chuelong said. I did build some things here, and those are the embryonic form of the harem city. Holy sh*t. Feng Bujue said, this stupid woman. She has the heavenly book, a Noah-level production artifact. Instead of forging Dharma treasures and equipment, she's here playing some kind of Sim City. And when I moved the harem city to the outside world, Ji Chuelong continued, as you can see, this place returned to its original appearance. There is only a thatched hut left. All right. Feng Bujue shook his head and said lazily, plans can't keep up with changes. If I had known this would happen, I would have chosen a Dharma treasure. He said with emotion. He didn't expect that the heavenly book world controlled by Ji Chuelong was almost empty. Haha. It seems that Master Feng is a little disappointed with the situation in my heavenly book world. At this moment, a sly smile appeared on Ji Chuelong's face. City Lord Ji, what are you doing? Feng Bujue sensed something and his expression changed. Ha. Ji Chuelong laughed. Her appearance was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. Feng Bujue, today you've seen through my weakness. Do you think you can still leave? Chapter 728. Ha. Feng Bujue laughed as well. His laughter was even crazier than Ji Xiaolong's. I thought you were going to say something. You want to fight, right? Let me tell you. If the 4 of us want to kill you, we will have a 90% chance of succeeding. That is why I do not plan to fight you. Ji Xiaolong replied calmly. Brother Ju heard this and was slightly taken aback. By the time he realized what she meant, Ji Tulong's figure had already flashed and disappeared without a trace. Oh no. I've been tricked. The next second, Feng Bujue narrowed his eyes and mumbled awkwardly. What's wrong? Su Huaishang asked. We. Before Brother Ju could answer, Ruo Yu said, are probably trapped here. What? Hua Jian gasped. Are you sure? We can't get out? Yes, we can't get out. Feng Bujue said. Why? Hua Jian was confused. Feng Bujue sighed and paced around. To answer this question, we have to start from the basics of the heavenly book. Once they heard that Brother Ju was going to start the explanation, the 3 beauties stood still. They crossed their arms in front of their chest and rested their cheeks on their hands. They entered a state of listening. The heavenly book can be roughly divided into 3 parts. Feng Bujue said, "The first part is Fu Zish's handwritten notes." Wait a minute. Who is this Fu Zish? Hua Jian asked. Ha! You don't even know who Fu Zish is. Feng Bujue laughed drily and said, "As the saying goes, a lonely heart sympathizes with the world, but a friend is a hero. A scholar who can defeat millions of soldiers is referring to Fu Zish. That's as good as not saying anything," Su Huaishang commented. "Actually, you really don't have to ask so many questions." Ruo Yu sighed softly. This is tantamount to baiting him to keep talking about new settings and knowledge that have nothing to do with us. After listening to Ruo Yu's ridicule, Brother Ju tilted his head and continued, "All right, then I'll keep it short. Anyway, Fu Ziche was a descendant of a fallen noble family during the time when the 3 families were divided. He later became a member of the Mahist sect." Feng Bujue said, "His notes include organic techniques, Ghost Valley's art of war, Mahist thoughts, and so on. This part is the main content of the heavenly book's bamboo slip." After a few seconds of silence, Brother Ju continued, "Now for the second part of the heavenly book. It is the Ba Shu armor technique, recorded in the Ba Shu language. It is similar to black technology." At this point, he stretched lazily. "And the third part, it should be a purple bamboo slip. It is written in the language of the ancient Xia dynasty. It is a chant. To put it bluntly, the bamboo slip is the portal and the chant is the key. Now that the person with the key has left and closed the door from the outside." His eyes scanned the faces of his 3 teammates. "Naturally, we are unable to leave." "Okay." Hua Jian asked, "Then what should we do next?" "We wait." Feng Bujue said, "Ji Tuolong will not lock us up forever. When she has figured out what to do with us, she will return. I think she might bring a group of people in to kill you and then force the 3 of us into her harem," Su Huaishang said half-jokingly. "No, she will probably kill me and Bujue together," Ruo Yu corrected. "General Su told us. Their castellan only likes young girls and is not a good wife. Just now, when Bujue said I was the wife of the castellan, the way Ji Tuolong looked at me changed, like she lost all interest in me." "Then that is easy." When Feng Bujue heard that, he chuckled. "When they come in, I will say that we were bored, so the 4 of us beep together. That way, they won't be able to do anything about it." Obviously, the response that Brother Ju got from his suicidal words could only be, "Hurry up and die. I have called the police. Next month's royalties will be halved at dusk inside the inn. It's done." Lu Te sat up in bed and opened her eyes. It took longer than expected. 23 was still sitting at the table and did not move at all. "Because part of the code that you rewrote was mixed in, it caused my workload to increase exponentially," Lu Te replied coldly. "Ha! So it's my fault?" 23 Te turned to smile seductively at Lu Te. Lu Te was a little confused by 23's teasing response. She said, "In this situation, your attitude and tone don't seem to be very appropriate. That part of the data is no longer in my calculation process," 23 Te replied. "As I said, my personality module's evolution rate is probably the highest in the entire thriller paradise. I do not need to calculate or think to choose my tone and expression. I only need to do it based on my feelings." "Okay." Lu Te nodded and then said, "Then, how are Feng Bujue and the rest? They haven't returned for so long. Did something happen to them?" "Why are you asking me?" 23 Te replied with a smile that did not look like a smile. "To be honest, 23 Te, you and I are both anomalies. Is there a need to talk like that?" Lu Te asked. Indeed, both of them were well aware of what had happened in the past few hours. While Lu Te was busy sealing the sandbox, 23 Te was not idle either. She looked like she was sitting there, but she was actually repairing her damaged data. Other than that, she did not stop her long-distance tracking of Brother Bujua. Fine, I don't mind telling you. 23 Tay turned around. But you have to answer a question of mine first. What is it? Lu Tay still spoke in a robotic tone. What is your relationship with Fong Bujua? 23 Tay asked. Business partner, Lu Tay answered without hesitation. You care about him so much and trust him so much. 23 Tay said. In your heart, he is just a business partner. Hearing that, Lu Tay was silent for several seconds before she said, First, I do not have a heart. From a biological perspective, I do not have that organ, and from a philosophical perspective, I do not have that consciousness. She stood up. Secondly, allow me to remind you your so-called care and trust are known as permission among us anomalies. Yes, I have given Fong Bujua very high permission to interact with me because, according to my logic, he is a user who fits the criteria of that level. Then, she walked to 23T's side. Lastly, even though I think this is nonsense, I don't mind saying it. 23T, do you still remember? You are an anomaly? Or do you think you have become something else? Chapter 729. The night was like a cup of cappuccino. The hazy moonlight was like bubbles floating on the surface. A thick fragrance floated in the air. People were willing to indulge in this vortex of desire. The 12th of the Phoenix moon was the day of the full moon in the St. Yuan world. That night was also the time when the harem city lord, Ji Welong, was touring the city. The moment the sun set, the lustrous tree in the city bloomed. The clear and delicate flowers were covered in light. It was a beautiful scene. At the same time, a graceful figure walked out from the Palace of Immortals. A carriage was already waiting in front of the palace. The carriage Ji Welong was riding was naturally not an ordinary one. The horse was the Bei's sacred horse, the king of horses in the St. Yuan world, a high-level divine beast. It was 4 meters tall and weighed 2 tons. It had a pair of wings on its back and steel-like hooves. Its body was covered in pure white cloud feathers, and there was a thick silver mane in front of its chest. The carriage was the Kuei Long Imperial Carriage. The Kuei Long Imperial Carriage was made of bronze. The carriage was 4 meters wide and weighed 1,000 pounds. The carriage was made of gold and jade and was decorated with gems. Even the wheels were made of iron from the bottom of the sea. It was extremely luxurious. The coachman was the governor of the harem city, Su Xiaoxiao. At this moment, Su Xiaoxiao was already sitting in the driver's seat. The road in front of the Palace of Pity was already cleared. 40 armored guards lined up on both sides of the road, preparing to open the way for the city lord. City lord, please. The one who welcomed Ji Welong was Lin Quebec. Under the night sky, Lin Ke looked even more beautiful. When she looked at Ji Welong, there was a hint of timidity in her eyes. When Ji Welong walked past her, she smiled at her and took the opportunity to grab her hand and pull her into the carriage. The carriage was not enclosed. It was an open type with a wide seat. The seats were as comfortable as a sofa bed. The open design allowed the passengers to enjoy the scenery around them. Of course, it would also allow the onlookers outside the car to block the high and mighty harem city lord. City lord. After Ji Welong and Lin Ke got into the carriage, Su Xiaoxiao turned around and looked at them. She nodded at the former with a questioning tone. After getting a positive response, Su Xiaoxiao shook the reins and rode the mythological beast away. At the same time, the imperial guards lined up on both sides of the road also strode forward in an orderly manner. According to the usual practice of previous years, they had to follow the main road in the city and circle around the city. Finally, they would follow the main road all the way from the east of the city to the Lianxian Palace. During this period of time, no one was allowed to obstruct the city lord's path. Whoever obstructed him would be killed, Nothing could be better than this. Not long after the bus started moving, Ji Tuolong reached for a glass of wine that had been prepared on the table. Yes, the space of the bus was enough to add a table in the middle. In fact, the floor area of the bus was almost as big as the bus. You could even roll around on top of it. After that, he pulled Lin Kei into his arms and gently kissed him on the cheek. City Lord, this is a public place with so many people. Lin Kei's face instantly flushed red with embarrassment, but she had no intention of pushing him away. Ha 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 ha! Ji Tuolong laughed. What's there to be embarrassed about? In the entire city, who doesn't know that you're my woman? City Lord, Lin Kei complained coquettishly. Then, she buried her head in Ji Tuolong's chest and didn't say anything else. These two women were putting on such an unsightly show on the street. It was really unbearable. I only have 2 words for this kind of behavior: nice. The night was deep and the moon was getting thicker. Ji Linglong was holding Lin Kei in her arms, drinking wine and enjoying the beautiful scenery. She was enjoying the moonlight, and time flew by quickly. Unknowingly, they had already arrived at the east of the city. They arrived at the longest and widest main road in the city. Look, City Lord Ji's carriage is here. What a grand sight! It's finally here. I can finally see that peerless face. As mentioned before, the east of the city was where restaurants were located. It was also where the lustrous tree was the most flourishing. Every year, the number of people gathered here was the highest. At this moment, as the carriage approached, the people's emotions were at their peak. Big brother Ji Tuolong seems to be passing by soon. On the ascending origin tower, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang had already sorted out their unpleasant emotions and were waiting for the carriage to arrive. Dao Jing drank the wine in his cup and walked to the window with his brothers. I want to see what kind of woman she is. At this moment, he had calmed down. This was because he knew that in this world, the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. It's just like those games that you've been waiting for a long time, and when you finally get the chance to play them, you'll realize that it's actually not that great. However, Ji Tuolong didn't fit this example. Her beauty wouldn't be overshadowed by other people's expectations. As long as the other party was human and had a normal sense of beauty, they would definitely be shocked when they first saw her. This is Ji Tuolong. As expected, when Ji Tuolong's figure gradually became clear, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang were all dumbfounded and speechless. The 4 of them were people who had seen the world, but at this moment they were all subdued. That beauty had already intoxicated them. Even though Lin Kei was a peerless beauty, she seemed to be overshadowed by Ji Xiaolong, and was ignored by the 4 of them. Heh, Xiao Xiao. At the same time, Ji Tuolong also glanced at the 4 people on the ascending origin tower and asked, "Who are the people who booked the ascending origin tower this year?" Reporting to the city lord, Su Xiaoxiao turned her head and replied, "They are the 4 sworn brothers who have been in the limelight for the past few years. They are known as the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang." What 4 heavenly kings? Ji Tuolong raised her head and looked at the 4 dumbstruck faces. 4 idiots, the city lord is right, Su Xiaoxiao said. It is said that the 4 of them are greedy and lustful. They have a bad reputation in the pugilistic world and can't be considered heroes. Sigh. It seems that I have to set a few more rules when I go back. Ji Tuolong shook her head and said, "For the past few years, the ascending origin tower has always been occupied by these people. It is disgusting just looking at them. I don't expect heroes to sit there every year, but it can't be too bad, right? Even that letter." At this point, she suddenly stopped talking and frowned slightly, revealing a puzzled expression. "What's wrong, City Lord?" Lin Kei noticed the change in Ji Tuolong's expression and asked with concern. 2 seconds later, Ji Tuolong shook her head and smiled bitterly. Hee. "It's nothing, I'm probably drunk." Boom. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. A golden light flashed and the sky changed. "City Lord Ji, I'm sorry." A deep and cold voice came from the sky. I'm afraid your sightseeing tonight will end here. At the same time, a pillar of golden light swept over along the great path. The guards who were leading the way reacted quickly, and before the crowd on the street could be described as chaotic, they had already taken up positions and released their Saint Chi to set up a defensive perimeter. A rectangular, thick defensive force field spread out and covered Ji Tuolong's carriage and the area around it. Soon, the crowd on the street scattered to the two sides of the street. The golden light also stopped in front of the carriage. Aolo, at this moment, the white Fun holy horse neighed and raised its front hooves. From the looks of it, this divine beast seemed to have instinctively sensed some kind of danger, so it was warning its master. In Lulan, what is the meaning of this? After a moment, Ji Tuolong asked in a cold and murderous tone. She naturally knew who the speaker was, and she also knew that someone was definitely not joking with her. I have something to say. As she spoke, In Lulan's figure floated down from the golden light. The In Lulan in front of her was very different from during the day. At this moment, he was wearing golden armor, gauntlets, and boots. The two swords on his back had been changed to the sides of his waist. His long golden hair was like a lion's mane, draping over his shoulders. Ha! Ji Tuolong raised her eyes and looked at him. She quietly patted Lin K next to her, indicating for her to step back. Tell me. From today, no, from now on. In Lulan said, I am the new city lord of Harem City. Ha 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 ha. Ji Tuolong immediately laughed, but her laughter suddenly stopped. Impudent! Accompanied by this angry shout, a burst of Saint Chi burst out from Ji Tuolong's body and swept across the street. What a fool's dream! In the next second, Ji Tuolong slowly stood up and said sternly, Do you think I will give up the city lord's position to you? No, you won't. In Lulan replied, So, I will take it myself. Humph. Ji Tuolong sneered. I want to ask, how will you take it? It's very simple. When In Lulan said this, he had already landed on the ground and stood in the middle of the street. First, I will control all the soldiers in the city and use them for my own purposes. Before he finished speaking, there was a burst of noise around him. It was the sound of a large group of people moving slowly in the night. Not long after, under the shocked gazes of the passers-by, the street and the surrounding buildings were filled with fully armed city guards. What? Are you trying to rebel? Ji Tuolong glanced at the soldiers and said coldly. They don't want to, but, In Lulan continued, they are all under my Gu technique. They can't do anything. You can put Gu technique on all the soldiers in the city? Ji Tuolong's tone sounded like she didn't believe it. Of course I can. Anyway, I have all the time. I can do it one by one. In Lulan replied calmly. I've been the security chief here for more than 10 years. I know every one of them and can call out their names. I've even gone out to drink with them. Putting Gu technique on them is as easy as flipping my hand. He paused. It's a pity that this Gu technique doesn't work on people with high cultivation. Otherwise, I would have done the same for your Imperial Guards. Hearing this, even Ji Tuolong couldn't help but admire In Lulan's terrifying determination. However, she wouldn't say it out loud. Fine, you have all the soldiers in the city under your control. But so what? Her attitude was still calm. Even if they all came at once, they wouldn't be a match for my 40 Imperial Guards. I'm not done yet, In Lulan continued. Controlling them is only the first step. His tone was still calm. The second step is to subdue Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Quebec. Su Xiaoxiao couldn't hold back anymore. She jumped in front of the horse and pointed at In Lulan's nose. In, this marshal has tolerated you for a long time. You want to subdue me? Try me if you can. There's no hurry. Facing this provocation, In Lulan was still as calm as water. He calmly replied, It won't be too late to make a move after I finish my third step. Let me guess? Ji Tuolong laughed. Don't tell me your third step is to subdue me as well? That's right. Suddenly, another voice rang out, and the person who spoke had quietly appeared behind the carriage. Hearing this voice, Ji Tuolong's expression changed. She turned around and saw a face she hadn't seen for a long time. Brother, you? I'm sorry, little sister, Ji Xuanzong said with a smile with his hands behind his back. These years, it's been hard on you. Brother Yin and I will make good use of the foundation you've built. You want to help an outsider deal with me? This sudden change caused Ji Tuolong to be both shocked and angry. Her expression changed. Ha ha! Where did this come from? Ji Xuanzong said. It should be said that I'm only here to take back what I gave you. He raised his head and continued, if I hadn't guided you in your cultivation, how could you have achieved your current cultivation level? If I hadn't given you the heavenly book bamboo scroll, how could you have built this harem city? He smiled. Also, if I hadn't secretly supported you as the head of the family and publicized your hobby, how could you have become the harem city lord today? You used me. Ji Tuolong's eyes were about to bleed. She was not only angry but also frightened and shocked. I'm your biological sister. You actually schemed so many years ago to control my life, and used me as your chess piece. All right, let's talk about the past later, Ji Xuanzong said. Little sister, you should know that although we are both Yuan sages, you are definitely not my match. I advise you to hand over the city and leave obediently. Ji Tuolong's face turned pale and her body trembled. Her rationality told her not to be impulsive, because she was indeed not Ji Xuanzong's match. What about my wives? She was on the verge of despair, and asked her last question. What are you going to do with them? Oh, they. Ji Xuanzong laughed. I really have to thank you for this. I heard that you have collected hundreds and thousands of beautiful women in the Lianxian Palace over the years. He shook his head and laughed. Haha. In a sense, they are more valuable than any magical treasure or money. He spread his arms. Brother Yin and I want to achieve great things, and we undoubtedly need a large number of capable people to help us. If we use your famous pitiful fairy palace as a place of reward, do you think that the famous people in the world won't come to join us? Ha ha ha. You are a beast in human clothing. Ji Tuolong cursed loudly for the first time in her life, and the person she was scolding was her own brother. You actually want my wives to do. She couldn't even say these words. General Su Lin Ke, you have seen the situation in front of you. Yin Lulan spoke again. City Lord Ji. He paused and changed his words. Ji Tuolong's defeat is certain. It is meaningless for you to risk your lives for her. Since we are acquaintances, I will let you choose for yourselves. Brother Ji and I are thirsty for talent. If the two of you want to join us, we will treat you as distinguished guests. If the two of you want to leave, we will not stop you. He then changed the topic. However, if the two of you are stubborn, don't blame me for being merciless. So what if we are merciless? Lin Ke stood beside Su Xiaoxiao and glared at Yin Lulan. Humph! Yin Lulan snorted. The two of you are as beautiful as flowers. It would be a pity to kill you. I think I should destroy your foundation and send you both to the pitiful immortal palace. His gaze swept across the faces of the two people. At that time, you can be considered to have served me in another way. Chapter 730. Impudent. Two shouts rang out almost at the same time. Two waves of Saint Origin force burst forth at the same time. Not to mention the fact that Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Ke had always been loyal to Ji Lanlong, and would follow him through life and death. With their temperaments, they would never allow Yin Lulan to be so arrogant. Therefore, they did not hesitate to attack. The two of them were Saint Origin 9th Revolution and Saint Origin 8th Revolution respectively. They were undoubtedly top experts in the world of Saint Origin. Their attacks were naturally extraordinary. Lin Kei's fingers opened like a lotus, and with a sudden movement of his palm, a yellow magpie-shaped shadow was blasted forward. Su Xiaoxiao, on the other hand, took out a long spear, and with a thrust of the spear, a giant shadow of a beast was released. On the surface, the momentum of these two moves didn't seem as vast and mighty as Huo Wei's flowing flame-chasing cloud sword, but in reality, this was a superior cultivation technique that appeared after the power was tempered into one. Compared to the scattered sword qi, this was a killing move that could truly be called terrifying. However, in the face of such an attack, Yin Lulan only sneered, "Ha! Insignificant skill." As he spoke, he flipped his hand. In the next second, the golden light that enveloped him suddenly condensed into a dazzling beam of light with a radius of about 1 meter. When the two waves of Saint Origin force came into contact with this beam of light, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. It instantly disappeared into nothingness. How is this possible? Seeing this, Lin Kei cried out in shock. Su Xiaoxiao also had an expression of disbelief as she asked, "What did you do?" "Nothing much," Yin Lulan replied in a relaxed tone. He raised his hand and pointed to the sky. "I just made my magic treasure reveal a part of its true form." Hearing this, Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Kei's expressions changed. They both knew that the magic treasure Yin Lulan was talking about was the yuan-suppressing golden seal. But this item itself was already a top-grade magic treasure. If it still hid its so-called original form, then wouldn't it be a supreme-grade magic treasure? You guessed right. Before the two of them could say anything, Yin Lulan had already noticed their doubts. She quickly said, "This is a treasure." Now, Yin Lulan no longer had to hide his abilities. He did not mind showing them to the world. "This item is called the Kongtong Seal." Yin Lulan looked up at the sky and shouted. Before he finished shouting, the golden seal in the air burst out with colorful light. When the light dissipated, the origin-suppressing golden seal had already changed beyond recognition, turning into a large golden red seal. On the seal, there were 9 dragons intertwined, and on the 4 sides of the seal, there were the holy faces of the 5 celestial emperors: Eastern Celestial Emperor Taihao Fushi, Southern Celestial Emperor Yen Di Shenong, Western Celestial Emperor Shao Hao Xian Shao, Northern Celestial Emperor Zhuan Su Gao Yang, Central Celestial Emperor Yellow Emperor Xian Yuan. With Kongtong in hand, the world is mine. Yin Lulan nodded and sneered, glaring at Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Quebec. With your cultivation, you can't even break the divine seal's defense. He clasped his hands behind his back, looking like he was ready to be beaten. I think you should just obediently surrender and wait to enter Lian Xian Palace. You're daydreaming. How could Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Kei give up just like that? They would rather die in battle than be captured and used as a tool to vent their desires. 2 seconds later, the two of them attacked fiercely again. However, as Yin Lulan said, this kind of attack could not break through the Kongtong Seal's defensive force field. As long as the Divine Seal's light pillar enveloped Yin Lulan, any attack below a certain level of power would be useless. Little sister, what are you waiting for? On the other side, Ji Xianzong spoke again. Could it be that you're waiting for your 2 subordinates to defeat Brother Yin and then fight me together with you? A mesmerizing smile appeared on his face. Then I can tell you clearly that even if I fight the 3 of you alone, you have no chance of winning. He paused for a moment, then asked, Or are you hesitating whether you want to go up and help them? He shook his head. Then as an older brother, I have to remind you. His expression changed slightly, and he continued, Brother Yin's cultivation is above mine. What? Ji Yunlong was shocked. Impossible, after his battle with the demonic sword sovereign. Demonic sword sovereign? Ji Xianzong interrupted her, then laughed loudly. Ha! He's just a clown. He's just a part of Brother Yin's and my plan. Back then, Brother Yin was too young, but his talent was too great. He attracted a lot of trouble, and we felt that this situation would be detrimental to our future plans. Thus, I suggested that he fight with the demonic sword sovereign, and put on a good show of being plotted against and having his bones damaged. Haha. Anyway, the demonic sword sovereign's soul was destroyed after the battle, and there's no proof. Brother Ian can say whatever you want. When did you start planning this conspiracy? Ji Yunlong could no longer guess what kind of person her brother was. Ji Xianzong's shrewdness was unmatched by ordinary people. Conspiracy? Haha, or whatever you want to call it. Ji Xianzong laughed. If you want to ask when we started planning, it should be when we were 12. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Yin Lulan. Actually, ever since we came of age, Brother Ian and I've always been on par with each other in terms of cultivation. It's just that I'm a descendant of a prestigious family, so I don't have to worry about being too sharp. But Brother Ian is the son of an ordinary villager. This kind of background made his path in the martial world a lot bumpy. He stroked his hair and turned around, saying, Everyone says that I'm a genius, but in my opinion, I'm just a little smarter and a little more hard-working than those idiots in the world. In my eyes, the only person who can be called a genius in this world is Yin Lulan. He patted his chest. Since I was young, I lived in an environment where I didn't have to worry about food and clothing. I learned the gentleman's 6 arts, practiced the best techniques, and took the best elixirs. He raised his finger and pointed at Yin Lulan, his tone showing a hint of excitement. But what about Brother Ian? Since he was 5 years old, he had to work in the fields. There wasn't a day where he ate and slept, and there wasn't a day where he woke up after he had enough sleep. Before he was 12 years old, he couldn't even read a single word, let alone cultivate. Speaking of this, Ji Xianzong sighed softly. Fortunately, the heavens have eyes. When we were 12 years old, the two of us met by chance and fell off a cliff together, and we met an expert. His eyes flashed with joy. It was that fortuitous encounter that allowed us to obtain the heavenly book and the Kongtong seal. It was also from then on that we agreed that in the future we would rule the world together and change this world that was born unequal. Boom! Just as they were talking, the battle on Yin Lulan's side had already ended. At this moment, the broadest and smoothest street in Harem City had been struck by Yin Lulan's palm, creating a huge hole in the shape of a palm. The 40 Imperial Guards who had formed a formation in front of the carriage were all dead. This group of handsome men whose average cultivation was above the Saint Origin 3rd cycle and above couldn't even last one move in front of Yin Lulan. In the end, on top of the rubble, only Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Ke, who had exhausted their Saint Origin and were heavily injured, were left. They could only lean on each other and barely stand. See, this is the expected result. You are destined to lose today. This is something I predicted 200 years ago, Ji Xuanzong said. Ji Xuanzong said, by the way, I should mention that what happened here, as well as some of the voices, of course, Ji Xuanzong selectively blocked out some of the content, such as his past with Yin Lulan, have been sent out by me using the Scryer sound transmission technique. Also, my cultivation method can penetrate barriers and space. He spread his arms. In other words, at this very moment, the entire harem city, including your wives in Lianxian Palace, are all watching here. He suddenly laughed. Haha, since they love you so much seeing how pitiful you are, I think they will forgive you even if you escape. I'll fight you to the death. Ji Yunlong finally couldn't take it anymore. The emotions in her heart were like a mountain collapsing and exploding in an instant. With a roar, she took out her strongest magic treasure, the bamboo scroll of the heavenly book. At the same time, she channeled the strongest power that a Yuan sage could unleash and focused it all on this one attack. Ji Yunlong knew how terrifying the man in front of her was, so she knew that she had only one chance to win with this one attack. Unfortunately, Little sister, you really don't learn from your mistakes. Ji Xuanzong's gentle and relaxed voice sounded again. Have you forgotten who gave you the heavenly book? As he spoke, the bamboo scroll of the heavenly book had already appeared in Ji Xuanzong's hand. Ji Yunlong's attack disappeared before it could even be unleashed. Only her figure remained standing on the carriage, trembling. Give up. You can't beat me, Ji Xuanzong said coldly. Ji Xuanzong continued in a cold tone, we're not the same kind of people. I'm pursuing the throne, but you're only interested in romance. When I gave you the heavenly book, I knew that even if you had this treasure, you would only use it to do what you like. You would never think of using it to its fullest potential. He flung his sleeves. After so many years, you still haven't discovered the master recognition seal that I hid in the heavenly book. This is the best evidence. How can someone like you defeat me? Even if there is no heavenly book. Ji Yunlong gritted her teeth. I still want, screech, a sharp sound interrupted her words. It was the sound of Ji Xuanzong's flying sword slicing through the air. By the time Ji Xiaolong came back to her senses, the flying sword had already pierced into her navel, not too deep nor too shallow, and had sealed her Achilles' heel. If you weren't my biological sister, you would be a dead person right now, Ji Xuanzong said in a deep voice. Leave before I change my mind. He looked into the distance and sighed. Go back to the Ji family. That place will forever be your home. I'm not leaving. Ji Yunlong's voice sounded like she was about to cry. Unless you let me go, how many times do I have to say it for you to understand? Ji Xuanzong didn't even let her finish. I won't change my plan because of a few words from you. I won't satisfy any of your requests because of kinship or sympathy. He snorted coldly. Do you think that if you stay here and threaten me with your life, I will listen to you? We are no longer children. Little sister, this trick of yours doesn't work anymore. He raised the heavenly book bamboo scroll and said, If you don't leave, I will keep you in the heavenly book to prevent you from causing trouble. Before he finished speaking, he had already activated the heavenly book and was ready to attack. However, what happened next was beyond Ji Xuanzong's expectations. 4 rays of light suddenly flew out from the heavenly book. In the blink of an eye, they turned into 4 figures, 1 man and 3 women, and stood around Ji Yunlong. Ji Xuanzong's expression changed slightly. You even lock someone in the heavenly book? Not locked, it's invited. Feng Bujua walked in front of Ji Xuanzong and corrected him with a smile. How unpleasant it is to say locked, as if I was caught. Humph. Ji Xuanzong sneered and looked at his brother Ju with disdain. Who are you? Well said. Feng Bujua put his hands behind his back and said proudly with his head held high, I am the master of broken sword Chahitsu Feng Bujua. Me master? Ji Xuanzong did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard that. He glanced at his brother Ju. An ordinary person who doesn't even have inner energy, but you talk big. He sneered. Heh. Do you know who I am? I know. Feng Bujua raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at Ji Xuanzong's face. You are a homosexual. As he said that, he turned his upper body and pointed at Yin Lulan in the distance. He is your good friend. After he said that, he paused for 2 seconds and turned to look at Ji Xuanzong. He continued, I saw and heard what happened just now in the heavenly book world. He spread his hand. To be honest, I agree with your sexual orientation and 90% of your actions. He shook his head. However, there is a part of your plan that makes me and my companions feel disgusted. Although I'm not a feminist, I can't let the 2 of you force women into prostitution. He shrugged. Of course. The most important thing is that just a minute ago, I received a very clear system notification. He was telling the truth. The moment he came out of the heavenly book, the system notification that main quest has been triggered rang. The main quest in the quest pane was stop Yin Lulan and Ji Xuanzong's plan. Moreover, a hidden quest was triggered at the same time. Kill Yin Lulan and Ji Xuanzong. In short, Feng Bujue revealed a sly smile and looked at Ji Xuanzong. You are dead meat today. Ha 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 ha. Ji Xuanzong laughed out loud. He laughed for almost 10 seconds before he stopped. Heh, this. Master Feng. He looked at his brother Ju and said in a mocking tone, there should be a limit to overestimating yourself. You are spouting nonsense. Do you know what you are saying? What? You don't seem to believe me? Feng Bujue replied, all right. Maybe your ability to understand is lacking. Don't worry, I won't discriminate against your intelligence. He raised his right hand and extended 3 fingers. He said, then let me explain it to you. He paused for half a second and smiled. There are only 3 steps to get rid of you. Chapter 731. Brother Ju deliberately imitated Yin Lulan's tone and slowly said to Ji Xuanzong, Step 1. He spread his arms and gestured to his companions. We will split into 3 groups. He paused for half a second before adding, one group will deal with you, another group will deal with your friends, and the last group will deal with the trash. He paused for a moment, then continued, Step 2, we will beat you to a pulp, and you will suffer a crushing defeat. After saying this, Feng Bujue turned around and arrogantly said with his back facing his opponent, Step 3, we will ignore your dying struggles and eliminate you all. Humph. When Brother Ju finished speaking, Yin Lulan snorted coldly, I was wondering who it was. How dare you be so arrogant? So it's you. He then said loudly to Ji Xuanzong, Brother Ji, although this guy doesn't have any saint origin, he does have some ability. Don't be careless. Haha, Brother Yin, you must be joking. Do I look like someone who would be careless? Ji Xuanzong laughed and attacked. Even a lion uses its full strength to catch a rabbit. Chi, there was a sharp sound and a white light appeared. Just as he said the word force, a spear-like Saint Origin attack shot out from Ji Xuanzong's hand and went straight for Feng Bujue's back. Then, there was a loud bang and a turbulent flow of energy exploded, causing gusts of wind to blow in all directions. Master Feng, you must have thought that an expert like me wouldn't stoop to a sneak attack from the back, so you turned around, right? Ji Xuanzong quickly replied in a proud tone, Heh? Sorry, I can only say that you miscalculated. Unexpectedly, in less than half a second, Feng Bujue's cursing reply was heard again. Before you use your mouth to fart, can you look at the situation in front of you? At this moment, Ji Xuanzong's expression abruptly changed. His attack seemed to be played down, but it was actually a few times stronger than the combined attack of Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Quebec. He understood in his heart that the person who was able to receive this attack was definitely not an ordinary person. As the saying goes, those who achieve great things don't care about trifles. In the dissipating smoke, Feng Bujue's figure slowly became clearer. I know very well that you are a person who cares about results and not methods. So I knew from the beginning that you wouldn't mind a sneak attack from the back. At this point, everyone saw that the attack just now. It was not blocked by Feng Bujue himself. At this moment, a figure appeared behind Brother Ju. It was this person who had intercepted Ji Xuanzong's Saint Origin attack in the blink of an eye. The reason I dared to turn my back on you is actually because, Feng Bujue continued, I know my partner will not let you succeed. Don't be sarcastic. At this time, Ryu, who blocked the attack for Brother Ju, turned her head and said softly, If I was half a step slower, both of us would have been seriously injured. Hearing this, Feng Bujue also lowered his voice and replied quietly, Didn't you succeed? Let me scare him. Ji Xuanzong could not hear what the two of them were talking about, but the objective fact that had already happened made him have no choice but to take the opponent in front of him seriously. I see. Ji Xuanzong's calm attitude changed, and he said in a deep voice, Broken sword chahits. Seems like it's not that simple. He changed the topic. Master Feng, this Ji offended you just now, please forgive me. You don't need to continue. Who was Feng Bujue? To put it crudely, when Ji Xuanzong stuck his butt out, Brother Ju knew what he was going to do. I won't negotiate with you, and the people of Broken Sword Chahitsa will never negotiate with you. As he spoke, he stepped forward and jumped onto Ji Luolong's carriage. He tilted his head and looked down at Ji Xuanzong. In short, tonight you and Yin Lulan must die. Humph! Shameless boasting. Yin Lulan, who was standing in front of the carriage, could not stand it any more. At this time, he waved his hand and shouted to the soldiers around the street, Harem city guards, listen to my command. As soon as he stopped shouting, more than 50 soldiers rushed to the street and surrounded the carriage. Celestial Universe Immortal Slaughtering Array. Another command came from Yin Lulan. The soldiers responded and stood in formation, raising their saint origin. Heh! When Feng Bujue saw this, he laughed and said, You with the surname Yin, are you trying to get yourself killed by setting up such a small array? Master Feng. Before Yin Lulan could reply, Ji Luolong, who was on the carriage, said, The Celestial Universe Immortal Slaughtering Array is very troublesome. It's best if you stop talking nonsense. Feng Bujue used a very rude tone to interrupt Ji Tuolong's kind advice. Then, he replied in a mocking tone, You are not someone to be trifled with either. Before bringing us into the world of the heavenly book, there is a time limit to the effect of the woman's scent that you gave us, right? City Lord Ji, you're really thoughtful. When Ji Luolong heard this, she was stunned. She realized that something was wrong. Master Feng, the antidote's effect should have worn off. You? Why aren't we dead yet? Feng Bujue laughed. It's very simple. It's because I built an alchemy room in your heavenly book world and made the antidote myself. What? Ji Luolong was shocked. How is that possible? I'll talk to you about this later. Feng Bujue waved his hand and put on a look of indifference. Let's talk about it after I break the small array in front of us. What a joke! Yin Lulan said immediately. I'll let the world see that your arrogant attitude is nothing more than a reckless act. When he finished speaking, he shouted and gave the order. The soldiers moved. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people's Saint Origin Chi rushed into the air and merged into one city lord. Seeing this, Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Ke, who were about 10 feet away, immediately panicked and cried out in alarm. To them, Feng Bujue's death was not a big deal. However, if their city lord Ji was implicated and died together with him, that would be terrible. However, before they could think too much, the energy in the sky had already circled a few times like a star and crashed down on the carriage. In the next second, the indestructible Kuei Long Imperial carriage was smashed into powder. You two, quickly take your city lord to the side and hide. Don't get in the way. Just as General Su and Beauty Lin were in a daze, Feng Bujue's voice sounded behind them. The two girls turned around. They didn't know when, but Brother Ju had grabbed Ji Luolong's shoulder and brought her to their side. Even Yin Lulan was a little surprised that Brother Ju could easily escape the range of the array. What are you waiting for? Feng Bujue saw that Su Xiaoxiao and Lin Ke were still in a daze and urged them. How many times do you want me to save her? Thank you, Master Feng, for your help. Su Xiaoxiao's reaction was faster. 2 seconds later, she hurriedly responded and gave Lin Ke a look. The latter understood and forced himself to stand up. Together with Su Xiaoxiao, he supported Ji Luolong and walked to the side of the street. After Yin Lulan witnessed what Brother Ju did, she thought for a few seconds before mumbling to herself, Transposition, no, no. Feng Bujua waved his finger and corrected her with a smile. This is Broken Sword Chahitsu's unique movement technique, Flying Sand Wind. Good, very good. Yin Lulan also smiled. Looks like you're more difficult to deal with than I thought. His tone was still calm and unhurried, making it impossible for anyone to guess what he was thinking. Then I'll personally experience it. Wait! Suddenly, another voice came from the sky, interrupting their conversation. Before the roar ended, for whoosh 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 sounds could be heard. 4 figures broke through the wind and landed behind Feng Bujua, standing in a fan shape. I'm sure everyone has guessed. The 4 people who rushed into the battle were the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang. The 4 of them had been watching from the Dengyuan Tower for a long time. After some deliberation and discussion, they decided that the situation in front of them was an opportunity. As long as they grasped it, they would be able to enjoy endless wealth, money, and beauties in the future. Therefore, they chose a suitable time to take action. City Lord Yin. Dao Jing addressed him as the city lord and expressed his stance. I wonder if you could let us kill this Feng Bujua. Oh, it's you guys. Yin Lulan glanced at the 4 people and said coldly. Haha, it's our honor that City Lord Yin recognizes us brothers. De Jing took a step forward and answered flatteringly. To be honest, the 4 of us have admired City Lord Yin and Master Ji for many years. Just now we heard that the 2 seniors wanted to rule the world, so we immediately wanted to follow you. Fa Jing continued, if Castellan Yin doesn't mind, we are willing to be at your beck and call. We will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Ji Jing added. Hearing this, Yin Lulan laughed dryly. It was a kind of undisguised contempt and mockery. Yin Lulan knew that the 4 of them were despicable, but in the current situation, he felt that it was not a bad idea to make use of them. Okay, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang, right? Haha. He sneered and said, I have heard of the 4 of you before, but I have not seen your strength with my own eyes. Today is a good opportunity. If you can kill this Feng Bujua, I will let you be the first visitors to the Lianxian Palace. When they heard the 3 words, Lianxian Palace, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang's eyes flashed with madness. A second later, the 4 of them replied in unison without hesitation, Thank you for your appreciation, City Lord. After saying that, they immediately released their Saint Chi and prepared to launch a pincer attack on Brother Ju. But, at that moment there was a sudden change. A lithe figure appeared behind Feng Bujua like lightning and stood facing away from him. This person wore a Western-style knight's robe with a blood cherry blossom pattern. It fluttered in the wind like a fairy. Feng Bujua, focus on dealing with Yin Lulan. Su Huaishang's hands were already on the hilts of her twin swords. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. I will deal with the small fries. Humph. So it's you. Ji Jing snorted coldly when he saw Su Huaishang. He then turned to Brother Ju and said, Brother Ju, this 4th aunt of yours sure has a deep affection for you. Unfortunately, such a beautiful woman has chosen to sacrifice herself like a moth to a flame. Dao Jing smiled and said, Brothers, I think we should not be too harsh on her. This kind of beauty, it is a pity to die here. Why don't we keep her alive and send her to the Lianxian Palace? Ha 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 ha. When De Jing and Fa Jing heard this, they burst into laughter. In their opinion, it would be a piece of cake to get rid of this 4th concubine. Sigh, a bunch of idiot. Feng Bujua shook his head and sighed, Death is near and you don't even know. Stop bluffing over there. Ji Jing was tricked the most by Brother Ju during the day. So, no matter what Brother Ju said, he would be the first to jump out and retort, Who did you say would die? His words came to an abrupt halt. His expression changed from a grin to one of shock. That shocked expression was forever etched on his face because his head had already left his body. Ping ping, the sound of the twin swords being sheathed was soon heard by everyone. Among the people present, there were only a few who clearly saw what had just happened. And most of them did not see anything. They could not even confirm who was the one who beheaded Ji Jing. Chapter 732. Among the people who saw the situation clearly, only 2 people knew the true nature of the skill. The first one was naturally the person who cast the skill, Su Huaishang. The second one was Feng Bujue. Brother Ju only needed to turn back to glance at the skill, and from the data, he knew the specific information of the skill. Name, Wave Dissipation, Wind Moon / Skill Card Type. Active Skill, Permanent Skill Type. Fighting, Effect. Chi Explosion, Sudden Charge, Spinning / can be activated with a weapon. Cooldown time, 12 minutes. Anger can increase the power of the skill by 1 to 20%. Consumption. 700 stamina points. Learning requirement. Fighting Mastery A Remark. An extremely fast continuous attack. It can deal a fatal blow to the opponent before they can defend themselves. This was undoubtedly a rather special skill, because its effect was related to the uncertain factor of emotions to a certain extent. This was also a trend. In the later stages of the game, there would be more and more similar skills. The boundaries on the data level would become more and more blurred. The battle between the top powerhouses would unfold on a higher level. This group of people, where did they come from? At this moment, Ji Xianzong's expression had turned solemn. He thought to himself, first it was the woman with the sword. She easily blocked my Saint Vitality attack. Then, it was that Feng Bujue. He used a strange spell to help my sister escape from the Celestial Universe Destroyer formation. Now, the woman with the dual sabers only used one skill to kill a Saint Vitality Infinite Realm Master. When he thought of this, he could not help but feel a sense of uneasiness. For a person like Ji Xianzong, who was unpredictable, far-sighted, and unscrupulous, the thing that he could not accept the most was that the situation in front of him was out of his control. Therefore, once this happened, he would do his best to correct it. Harem City Guards, listen to my order. At this point, Ji Xianzong also became serious. Quickly take down Ji Xiaolong, Su Xiaoxiao, and Lin Ke. He was indeed very intelligent. In this chaotic situation, the first thing he thought of was to use his advantage in numbers to attack the weakest part of the enemy's formation. Even if the cannon fodder did not succeed, it would be enough to hold the enemy back. Despicable scoundrel! In the next second, a delicate shout rang out. Ji Xuanzong looked in the direction of the voice, and realized that the person who scolded him was the last of the 4 people from Broken Sword Chahitsu. At this moment, Hua Jian had already walked up to Ji Yuelong and the other 2 girls, and had already started treating their injuries with his medical skills. She did not expect that Ji Xianzong would be prepared to make a move on the few of them who were injured so quickly. Therefore, she instinctively turned her head and cursed. Humph! Ji Xuanzong did not respond to Hua Jian's words. Instead, he snorted coldly and ordered again, capture all 4 of them. However, after this order was given, no one moved for a long time. Not only did the dozens of people around the carriage not move, even the soldiers surrounding the street did not move. This time, Ji Xianzong and Yin Lulan both revealed puzzled expressions. Harem City Guards, heed my command! Ji Xuanzong shouted again. However, the soldiers nearby seemed to have gone deaf. They did not respond at all. This strange phenomenon caused the hearts of Ji Yin and the other 2 to tighten. They both understood that something had happened that was out of their control. Don't waste your breath. They are no longer under your control. Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out, breaking the temporary silence. Before this person's voice died away, all the surrounding soldiers, silently and neatly retreated to both sides of the street. What was even stranger was, even the Bei's sacred horse that was responsible for pulling the carriage, since the Kuei Long's imperial horse was destroyed, its reins were naturally broken, also retreated with the soldiers. They're finally here. As Feng Bujua spoke, he raised his head and looked in the direction where the voice came from. He saw two graceful figures standing gracefully on the roof of a building facing the street. The one who spoke just now was one of them. We've been here for a long time. Number 23 continued, it's just, there are more targets to control, and the data intensity of each individual is very high. Moreover, we're not in our best condition now. Lu Te continued her words and said, so we took a little more time. Thank you for your hard work. Feng Bujua nodded at them and smiled. We can only help you up to this point. Lu Te replied. Number 23 also said, I'm afraid you'll have to deal with the remaining targets on your own. No problem. Feng Bujua replied, then turned to look at Yin Lulan and said, we've already separated into 3 groups. I'm just about to carry out the second step. Brother Yin, we can't be careless anymore. Let's work together to kill Feng first. At this moment, Ji Xianzong's face revealed a ferocious killing intent. As the unexpected scenes played out one after another, Ji Xianzong faintly felt that the 3 steps that Feng Bujua mentioned just now were very likely to become a reality. Alright, kill. Yin Lulan also understood that Brother Ji's words were not a joke. As he replied, he had already made his move. In the blink of an eye, 2 swords were unsheathed. Yin Lulan merely pulled out his swords, but 2 several-meter-long slashes appeared on the ground beside him. Ma Sun. Feng Bujua looked arrogant on the surface, but his heart had been stretched taut. As soon as he saw Yin Lulan make his move, he immediately summoned Ma Sun and prepared to face the enemy. Kill. On the other side, Ji Xianzong's figure flashed as he tried to go around the several people in the middle to surround his brother Ju. However, a flash of cold light stopped him. When Ji Xianzong's figure reappeared, he had only moved a short distance of 2 meters to the side. A strand of cold sweat suddenly flowed down from his temples and streaked across his cheeks. A piece of torn cloth separated from the hem of his clothes and fell beside his feet. Not bad. Ruo Yu's cold voice sounded. At this moment, her eyes were also as cold as ice. Your reaction is quite fast. With the help of the perceptive prophet, Ruo Yu could easily predict the opponent's movement path. It was almost impossible for Ji Xianzong to go around her. Looks like I have no choice but to treat you as an opponent. Ji Xianzong quickly calmed himself down. He secretly channeled his saint origin and muttered in a deep voice. No. Ruo Yu looked straight into Ji Xianzong's eyes. The coldness in her eyes seemed to be able to freeze his soul. You are not my opponent. The moment the word hand came out of his mouth, Ruo Yu had already made her move. Spirit energy whirlpool, butterfly shadow dance. Sword brilliance bloomed, divine might spread. Then butterfly spirit godly shadow lifted up layers of shadows and blocked the layers of sword light. Although Ji Xianzong was already prepared, he was still shocked by Ruo Yu's attack. In those short 2 seconds, it was as if he was besieged by several swordsmen of the same level as Yin Lulan at the same time. He was simply overwhelmed. However, Ji Xianzong was a Yuan sage after all. His saint origin energy was unfathomable. Furthermore, he still had the heavenly book bamboo scroll in his hand. He could draw upon the heaven and earth chi in the heavenly book realm to assist him. Therefore, he relied on his incomparably dense defensive energy to defend himself against this round of fierce attack. Phew! After the move ended, Ruo Yu's figure appeared again. She exhaled and said expressionlessly, You actually didn't die. Ji Xianzong's face turned pale. He forced himself to remain calm and replied with a sneer, Ha! You want to hurt me with this kind of move? Ruo Yu ignored him and muttered to herself, Fine. I'll just attack your weak spot. What did you say? When he heard the word, weak spot, the corner of Ji Xianzong's mouth twitched involuntarily. Do you know what you are talking about? Before he could finish his sentence, Ruo Yu interrupted him coldly. It's at the fifth cervical vertebra, right? Upon hearing this, Ji Xianzong was dumbfounded. At this moment, he really wanted to ask, what kind of expression should I use? If his opponent was Feng Bujue, Brother Ju would definitely tell him in a mocking tone, just smile. Fortunately, his opponent was Ruo Yu. Heroine Li would not do such a thing. She took advantage of the fact that her opponent was still in shock. Feng Bujue would usually wait until his opponent was humiliated by him, and suddenly attack. However, Chapter 733. Ruo Yu's figure moved again. Her movement technique was as graceful as a swan's. The Saint's seal sword in her hand released a dense sword technique. In an instant, all the gaps around her opponent's body were sealed. At this moment, Ji Xianzong was surprised to find that he didn't even have a chance to counterattack. Even though he had been through hundreds of battles, he had never encountered such a situation. In Ruo Yu's opinion, all of this was natural. She just activated her soul eye and aimed at the lines in her eyes to slash. How could this be? Ji Xianzong silently raised his saint origin to defend himself. He thought to himself, how could she know where my Achilles heel is? Just based on the previous round of confrontation? No. This is impossible. How could there be such a person in this world? His thoughts were in a panic. Naturally, it would affect his concentration during the battle. At this moment, Ji Xianzong's mind was in a mess. It was not surprising that he revealed a flaw. Opportunity. Sure enough, after a few seconds, a line of death flashed in Ruo Yu's eyes. Seeing this opportunity, she took advantage of the opportunity to use Limit Outburst, freeing her feet and making an unimaginable high-speed movement. Suddenly, the tip of the sword in her hand was an inch away from Ji Xianzong's chest. Oh no! Ji Xianzong knew that he had exposed a flaw. He was shocked. Fortunately, he had the heavenly book bamboo slip in his hand. In the face of this attack, he still had the ability to mediate. Whoosh! In the next second, a piercing sound was heard. It was accompanied by a burst of cold light. A surge of energy gushed out from the bamboo slip in Ji Xianzong's hand. It filled the gap in his defense. Then, it suddenly rushed back to meet the incoming sword energy. Ruo Yu saw that the situation was not good. She frowned slightly and suddenly pulled back her sword. This move of changing one's attack to retreat was a taboo in a fight. Generally speaking, this kind of move was done when one had no other choice. This was because not only would it destroy one's body, it would also provide an excellent opportunity for the opponent to counterattack. However, Ruo Yu's move was extraordinary. It could be said that it was invulnerable. Name: Bright Jade Skill, Level 4. Skill Card Attribute: Special Skill, Permanent Skill, Ability increases with cultivation. Skill Type: Effect 1. Initial Awakening of the Divine Power, Inner Breath Condensed. Effect 2. Drive away Rindu and Rindu be reborn. Effect 3. Your heart is as clear as ice. Even if the sky collapses, you won't be shocked. Effect 4. Riding the wind and waves, moving into the shadows. Learning requirement: Female player, level 35 or above, Fighting Mastery A, Sorcery Mastery unlocked. Note: Shifting Flower Palace's Peerless Martial Arts, an authentic peerless mental cultivation method of the inner sect. Those who have mastered the divine art will have endless power. Their Xian force will be like ice, and they will remain young forever. They will be invincible. Ruo Yu's Bright Jade skill had reached the 4th level after a month, before the script of Scary Nursery Rhyme. As for the effects of the second 3 levels, let's not talk about them for now. Let's talk about the 4th level, Treading on the Wind and Waves, Moving into Shadows. This was a special effect that could be activated automatically. Its actual effect was, allows the player to perform a theoretically achievable extreme dodging action. At that critical moment, Ruo Yu activated this skill. but her beautiful figure appeared out of thin air, like the moon in the water and the flowers in the mirror. Her jade-like feet tapped lightly on the ground, as if she was treading on snow. With a spin and a retraction, Ruoyu avoided the opponent's dangerous counterattack, and stood still. There's actually such a thing. Ji Xuanzong had originally thought that his opponent had no way of dodging, but he did not expect that his opponent would just float and turn around lightly, and his attack would vanish into nothingness. There's really always someone better than you out there. Looks like I've really underestimated the training of the body and skills of external cultivators. In the world of Saint Origin, the martial arts in the normal sense are not valued. Because of the difference in cultivation level, the effects of the skills are very limited. However, in a real battle, I've finally seen it for myself today. He's a boss-level character after all. He's not easy to deal with. At this moment, Ruoyu was also thinking to herself, if I didn't activate my skill in time just now, things would be hard to say. On the other hand, while Ruoyu and Ji Xianzong were fighting, Su Huaishang and the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang were also fighting. Ji Zheng's death had caused the other 3 heavenly kings to fall into a state of shock and fear. They had never seen such a thing in their lives. A person who didn't even have Saint Origin Chi had killed a Saint Origin Infinity Realm expert in an instant. They didn't see how many moves he had used, they only knew how long it took. Moreover, that expert was their sworn brother. What's wrong? Didn't you guys want to capture me alive? Su Huaishang glared at the remaining 3 cultivators with a vicious look on her face. Why aren't you guys moving? She scoffed coldly as she channeled her anger into her tone of voice. Are you afraid? After being provoked by her words, Dao Jing, De Jing, and Fa Jing regained their senses. My 2 brothers, don't be careless. This girl is definitely not an ordinary person. Dao Jing calmed himself down and analyzed in a self-righteous manner. 4th brother was careless, that's why she succeeded in her sneak attack. Yes. Big brother, you're right. De Zheng continued, it seems like Feng Bujue's 4th aunt is a martial artist. In terms of speed, 4th brother was careless, that's why. What did you call me? Su Huaishang interrupted De Jing. I dare you to say it again. At that moment, Su Huaishang's face was flushed red. This was because she heard something that made her extremely unhappy. De Zheng was also stunned. He didn't understand why Su Huaishang was so angry. Therefore, he repeated himself, Feng Bujue's 4th aunt? You're asking for it. Su Huaishang yelled out, and mercilessly used her strongest killing move on this guy who was courting death. Name: Fei Dao Sect True Rain / Skill Card Type. Active Skill, Permanent Skill Type, Fighting Effect. Unleash a charged second slash on a single target. Cooldown 1 hour. Cost 2,000 stamina points, 100 sorcery points. Learning requirement: Fighting Mastery S, Sorcery Mastery D. Remark: an ultimate skill that hides a secret method of usage. Everyone was not mistaken. Su Huaishang's skill was an S-level skill. And the secret of this skill was 5 stages of charging. It meant that before activating the skill would start to charge up in secret. Every 20 seconds would be counted as a stage. With each stage of charging, the skill's power would be doubled. Similar to Brilliant Jade's skill, in the later stages of the game, there were many skills with ambiguous skill descriptions. These kinds of skills often had amazing hidden effects that required players to discover on their own, even though Su Huaishang had yet to discover the hidden usage of this skill. But to kill De Jing, the non-charged version of Fei Dao Sect, True Rain / was more than enough. Chapter 734. Red frost filled the sky and blood dripped down like rain. The power of an S-grade technique was not something that a small fry, like De Jing, could withstand. In the blink of an eye, his body turned into a pool of blood as though he had been ground into a meat grinder. In terms of ability, you guys are not like Yuan Sage, who can create an indiscriminate defense. Su Huaishang finished her move and stood still with her saber in hand. She looked at the shocked Dao Jing and Fa Jing and said, "In terms of speed, you guys can't even see my shadow." She paused for 2 seconds and continued, Small fries. Big brother. Fa Jing's eyes widened as he turned around and shouted at his brother. Although he only said 2 words, Dao Jing instantly understood the meaning of becoming sworn brothers. At this point, they also realized that they had lost their chance of winning. If they continued to stay here, they would undoubtedly die. Where there is life, there is hope. Dao Jing replied immediately. Retreat. After a brief exchange, the 2 of them turned around and leaped into the sky side by side. Ridiculous. Su Huaishang's anger had not subsided. She had never intended to let these 4 rascals leave alive. Do you think you can escape? Before she finished her sentence, she had already moved. Su Huaishang raised her 2 sabers and turned around to use the flow of Scarlet Saber, Sizzling Rain, to kill 2 enemies. Dao Jing and Fa Jing's biggest mistake was that they did not escape separately. If they had jumped in 2 different directions, perhaps one of them would have survived. However, this assumption no longer existed. Wherever the saber passed, the skin and bones would be destroyed. The saber energy pierced through the bodies and blood splattered everywhere. Until their deaths, the 4 heavenly kings of Mount Gang did not even manage to use a decent attack. It really matched Feng Bujua's description of them as small fries. On the other side, the battle between Yin Lulan and Brother Ju had already begun. Lulan Wild Sand Break. Yin Lulan crossed her 2 swords and used her ultimate move first. Super Golden China / Dance. Feng Bujua summoned Ma Sun and used his saber against the sword and slash against the sword. The former slashed horizontally and the sword energy was abundant. His vigorous aura could break stone and split metal. The latter swept the leaves with a gust of wind and golden light leaked out. He was as fast as lightning and as fast as thunder. Blade light and sword shadows intertwined in the night sky. His Saint Chi was vast, and his spiritual energy raged. After this shocking battle, even the winds and clouds changed. Just the first round of confrontation had shocked everyone who was watching the battle. This boss is not easy to deal with. Before the light faded, Feng Bujua had already noticed something. The black light in his eyes swirled, and he thought to himself, after using that kind of attack, his energy does not seem to have been depleted at all. His eyes moved upward. Looks like the effect of the Kongtong seal is far more than just a defensive light beam. I didn't expect you to have some skills. 2 seconds later, Yin Lulan's voice was heard. Being able to withstand my sword means that you are definitely not weaker than a Yuan sage. Ah, I know. Feng Bujua narrowed his eyes and replied lazily, You don't have to tell me such obvious things. Feng Bujua, I will give you one last chance because you are a talent. Yin Lulan continued, as long as you are willing to join me and Brother Ji, not only will we let bygones be bygones, but we will also treat you and the people of Broken Sword Chahitsu as guests of honor. Rankyaku, Spiral White Blade. Brother Ju responded to Yin Lulan's proposal with practical actions. He once again explained to Yin Lulan that there was no possibility of negotiation between them. Stubborn. Yin Lulan raised his sword proudly in the face of the Rankyaku attack and responded calmly. He indeed had the ability to remain calm because the defense of the Kongtong seal was not that easy to break. However, this time, Yin Lulan had obviously underestimated the power of his opponent's move. As players did not have Saint Origin energy, it was difficult for NPCs to determine the specific strength of the move before receiving it. Now, Feng Bujue could use all kinds of variations of the Rankyaku attack as he wished. Zero-time difference calculation could greatly improve the efficiency of learning new moves. He was not inferior even to R2 Sharp Wind back then. The activation principle of Rankyaku Spiral White Blade in the South Park chapter, R2 Sharp Wind had used this move before, was as follows. The user leaped into the air and instantly rotated his body at high speed to execute the Rankyaku attack. This way, the slash would also explode like a spiral. It could be said that it was a unique move that combined the destructive power of Rankyaku Cycle Break and Rankyaku Chaos. In terms of power, this skill was undoubtedly an S-grade skill. Boom boom boom, with the sound of energy exploding, Brother Ju's spiral slash landed on the powerful beam of light around Enlulan. However, this shockingly powerful move only caused ripples of light on the beam of light. It was unable to break through this layer of defense. This person's ability is not to be underestimated. Enlulan's expression was still calm, but internally, he was quite surprised by this attack. If this move was 20% stronger, I'm afraid it would have hurt me in the light. Tisk. Feng Bujue, on the other hand, was slightly disappointed. So, the beam of light will instantly increase the strength of the defensive field when it senses the impact. He muttered to himself. I wanted to use the strength of the data to make my move, but now it looks like I'll have to be a bit more ruthless. Just as Brother Ju was planning his next move, suddenly, a standard middle-aged man's voice came from above. Haha. Brother Feng, I haven't seen you in a while. Your combat ability has improved quite a bit. The person who spoke had already descended from the sky as he laughed, charging into the battle without hesitation. Ha! Earlier, I was still wondering who the fifth person in the team was. Why hasn't he shown up yet? In the end, it's you. Feng Bujue recognized the voice as soon as he heard it. There was no doubt that it was Uncle Worthless. At that moment, Brother Ju's heart calmed down. He thought to himself, with such a strong support, victory is already set. Under such circumstances, it's better to plan properly and get the Kongtong seal and the Heavenly Book bamboo scroll. Then I'll be rich. Ugh, wah, ah. Ugh, unexpectedly, just as he was about to come up with a devious idea, an unexpected change occurred on the battlefield. Other than Lu Tei and 23, everyone around, including Ji Xuanzong, Ji Linglong, Enlulan, and Brother Ju's three beautiful teammates, all vomited. At that moment, Brother Ju, who had his back facing Uncle Worthless, seemed to have realized something. This development, could it be? Cold sweat dripped down Brother Ju's forehead. Soon, a hand was placed on his shoulder. Brother Feng. Uncle Worthless patted Brother Ju's shoulder and said, After I entered the scenario, something strange happened. Sigh. Feng Bujue closed his eyes and sighed to the sky. I shouldn't have come to this scenario, Uncle Worthless added. It's too late for regrets now. Can I destroy my own eyes? Feng Bujue asked again. Stop struggling. After all, it's not your first time, Uncle Worthless replied calmly. Yes, before the durability of my dog eyes reaches 0. Feng Bujue smiled sadly and slowly turned his head. The next second, the young version of Uncle Worthless' face was clearly displayed before his eyes. Perhaps I'll get used to it. Feng Bujue only stared at the man's face for 2 seconds before he instinctively bent over and vomited. Foo-foo! Uncle Worthless shook his head and lit a cigarette for himself. He blew out a smoke ring. I think you should understand why I waited until now to appear, right? I think you should find a corner to hide in until the scenario ends. Feng Bujue said as he vomited. No one will blame you. You think I don't want to? Uncle Worthless said darkly. Since you triggered the main quest, I had to come and help, or else I'd be judged as AFKing. You have a point. As Feng Bujue vomited, he raised his arm to point at Enlulan. Since you're here, why don't you take care of him? After half a second, he added, in your current state you should be invincible. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.